Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. Latest injury news for tonight's first-round NBA playoff games. Clippers small forward Kawhi Leonard remains questionable for Game 2 against the Mavericks tonight with right knee inflammation. Bucks power forward Giannis Antetokounmpo, calf strain, doubtful tonight in Game 2 against the Pacers. Suns hoping for a bounce back after that 25-point loss to the Timberwolves on Sunday. Couple of things Phoenix must do in Game 2 tonight to tie up the series, and one involves a member of their Big Three. ESPN NBA analyst Tim Legler.
It's all hands on deck, particularly at the top of the food chain, and that's Kevin Durant, Booker, and Beal. But in particular, it's Devin Booker, because one thing I can say about Devin Booker, the dude is a competitor. He typically responds to performances like that, and I expect Devin Booker to come out very hungry in the first 6 minutes of Game 2 to try to establish that rhythm that he can carry with him the entire night.
Suns T-Wolves 7 Eastern ESPN Radio. First-round Stanley Cup playoffs. Canucks goaltender Thatcher Demko out at least for Game 2 against the Predators tonight with an undisclosed injury. 10 Eastern ESPN 2. Casey DeSmith starts in his place.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming on Wednesday, I'll tell you the worst potential fits for quarterbacks not named Caleb Williams. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
That's right.
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
You sir. And Mr. Toby Tompley. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. 2 more Tigers hit the transfer portal. Shay Dixon is here with us. We'll talk some Pels. Mickey Loomis met with the media. We got SEC spring recaps. We got a ton to do. Let's get going.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
So Mickey Loomis had his annual "you're going to ask questions and I'm going to say nothing about the draft" press conference, pre-draft press conference, as is customary for every NFL GM before the draft. We say it every year. And look, I know as a general rule of thumb, you never want to tell your audience, hey, they're not going to say anything, because that disincentivizes you from listening or watching. So I hesitate to do it, but I have to be honest with you. Why would a general manager, any general manager, 2 days before the draft, after all of the many, many weeks and months of planning and scouting and putting together different bios and strategizing, why 2 days before the draft would the GM sit at a press conference and give you all the answers? I mean, it's all the questions we want to ask. What's your biggest need at 14? Are you going to trade up? Are you going to trade down? Are you going to sit there through rounds 3 and 4 and not draft anybody and wait till round 5? Like, all the things we want to know. But why is Mickey Loomis going to say that 2 days before the draft? Of course he wouldn't. But the assembled media there in New Orleans did ask some other pertinent questions about the roster. And one of them, maybe most interesting, has to do with a player that was really the Saints' target 2 years ago in the first round of the draft. That's Trevor Penning. And we all know Trevor Penning's story. High relative athletic score, Senior Bowl, small school, you better play, checks all the boxes. So they take Trevor Penning, and we know what's happened. I was excited about him in camp and in preseason his rookie year. He got hurt, essentially missed all of his rookie year, and then came back last year, started the season as a left tackle, and it just didn't go well. And so now everyone's looking like, did you bust? Did you just swing and miss and whiff on this guy? And it's even more relevant now because of the Ryan Ramczyk uncertainty with his knee and you don't have a left tackle, and the likelihood of the Saints sitting at 14 taking a tackle in this very tackle-heavy draft. So Mickey Loomis was asked about Trevor Penning's offseason. This is it's a kind of a relatively short interaction, but listen to this back and forth with Mickey Loomis and a reporter about Trevor Penning.
Trevor Penning's offseason gone to this point.
Yeah.
You'll still view him as tackle? Is
Yeah.
there a position, maybe another position you would
Yeah,
play?
I think it's gone well, and look, there's a lot of off season left here, and we have a new offensive staff, a new offensive line coaches, and I think they're anxious to get to work with him once we're able to get on the field.
Okay. The most interesting part of that was actually the beginning, where the reporter asked, do you still view him as a tackle? And Mickey Loomis very clearly said, yeah, there was no evasiveness there. So when you think about how the Saints are approaching this offseason, that is a very, 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 very important piece of information, because if the Saints are confident Ryan Ramczyk will return and you've still viewed Trevor Penning as a tackle, that makes drafting a tackle not as important. Please don't misunderstand me. I think they're taking a tackle at 14. They have to. But it makes it less of an absolute, you got to do this here. Again, if you feel like Ramczyk's going to play and Penning can still play tackle. I don't know that either of those things are the case. I think there's a giant question if Ryan Ramczyk ever plays again. I don't think any of us believe Trevor Penning's going to be a tackle. But that's the general manager saying it on the record right there, that they've still viewed Trevor Penning as a tackle. For what it's worth, he was asked again about Ryan Ramczyk. And can you give the update on Ramczyk?
Do you have a good sense of where he is right now?
I think we do, yeah.
Is it similar to what Dennis said last time he talked about it? Like, has anything changed since?
Yeah, no, I don't
last
think
month
anything's changed. We got a lot of time left.
Okay, not anything's changed, which is, again, remember, at the Combine, Dennis Allen said that they were confident, right? He was confident on Ramczyk's future. At the owners' meetings, Dennis Allen decidedly less confident, and it really called into question if we ever think he'll play again, so we don't know. But all that to say with Penning is, look, I still think the Saints are taking it. Maybe this is wishful thinking. I've said this for weeks, if not months now, that I would love to see the Saints realistically draft Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. I think that would be the best case scenario of a guy who might be the best or second best tackle in this draft, who could be sitting there for you at 14. If that's the case, awesome. But if that is the case, and let's say Ramczyk comes back or doesn't come back, either way, Trevor Penning has got to be an option for you at guard. And that's not to say necessarily that they're definitively saying he won't be an option at guard, but it's almost like if you approach this offseason with the notion that Trevor Penning is going to be your left guard, it clears the deck, so to speak. Like, okay, you draft, whoever you draft at 14 can play tackle for you on the left or right side as a rookie. You got James Hurst coming back, who you know in a pinch can play left tackle for you. And at least you've got the interior of your line solidified with McCoy at center, Ruiz at right guard, and Penning at left guard. And I want to, and it's not like this is a far cry. Like, remember, you drafted Andrus Peat, 13th overall out of Stanford. He was a left tackle at Stanford. You drafted him with the eye of making him your starting right tackle. And he couldn't play a lick of tackle. But he ends up playing 10 years at left guard for you. Okay. The greatest or worst, however you want, whatever side of the spectrum you want to look at it on, example of this is Robert Gallery. Robert Gallery was the number 2 overall pick of the Raiders back in 2004. Number 2 overall out of Iowa. Was supposed to be their franchise left tackle. Couldn't move his feet. What did they do? They kicked him inside. He played guard, had a long career at guard. Even more recently, Sam Cosmi. Remember him? He was an offensive tackle at Texas on that 2019 Texas team that LSU played in Austin. Sam Cosmi was their great offensive tackle. Washington drafted him with the eye of making him their starting right tackle. Well, kid couldn't play tackle. The guy couldn't play tackle. So last year, going into the 23 season, Washington slid Sam Cosmi into guard. Like, that's a very common thing in the NFL. You draft a guy with an eye of playing tackle. They can't play tackle. You move him inside. You put him in a phone booth. You let him just go maul people. That's what Trevor Penning should be able to do in this offense. And I'll remind you, you brought in some really good veteran offensive line coaches. You got John Benton there. You've got Rick Dennison. Remember, Jari Evans is on your staff as well as sort of an offensive line assistant coach. Like, you should be able to you should be able to get Trevor Penning, if nothing else, on the field as a starter in the same way you have Cesar Ruiz. Ruiz is not a great NFL offensive lineman. As far as starters go, he's the bottom tier when you look at PFF grades and all that sort of stuff. But he has become a consistent starting player for you who is available. Penning should minimum be that. And if nothing else, you go into this offseason knowing what the interior of your line would look like. Then you're going to add the 14th pick, and then we'll see what happens with Ryan Ramczyk at right tackle. Best case scenario, Penning's your left guard, Ramczyk's your right tackle, and whoever you draft 14 overall as your starting left tackle becomes your franchise left tackle for a decade. That's a best case scenario. But even if it doesn't work out like that, if Ramczyk isn't able to play, you can still play Penning at guard, and whoever you draft can play one side of the line of scrimmage. And maybe it's Hurst. Maybe you re-sign Pete, and he can help you at left tackle. Point is, you got options. But you have to be at least willing to consider the possibility of Trevor Penning being a starter for you at offensive guard. And I think that should be a possibility for Trevor Penning, but we'll see as we move along. Okay. Mickey Loomis talked about a bunch. He also talked about Marshawn Lattimore, very clearly walked back his comments from before, and he said he expects Lattimore will be on the team for the New Orleans Saints in 2024, and did talk some draft stuff. So we'll get to that, and we'll sprinkle it in throughout the show. But the Penning stuff I thought was the most interesting as we push off from the dock here. Okay, we're brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy in Louisiana with a great taste of Bud Light. Man, had a great meeting over there at Mockler today with good people at Mockler. And they have the spring is always so busy, man. It's so busy. And you always see the Bud Light cans, the Bud Light logos all over the place this time of year. And just because you have church fairs and you have golf tournaments, you have everything. Like this weekend alone, the LSU Alexandria Golf Tournament, sponsored by Bud Light. The McNeese Football Golf Tournament in Lake Charles, sponsored by our friends at Mockler and Bud Light. The Our Lady of Mercy Fair in Baton Rouge, Bud Light. The St. John and Prairieville Fair, Mockler Beverage and Bud Light. So our friends at Bud Light, of course, and Mockler Beverage, congratulate the LSU women's gymnastics team. They are the official beer of all LSU athletics, not just football or baseball. Like all LSU sports are great supporters of the Tigers and all of our local teams. So drink easy with the champs. Toast an ice cold Bud Light this weekend. Okay, it's after further review. Glad you're hanging out with us here. We'll knock out a quick break. Shay Dixon will jump aboard with us. Tigers saw 2 more players hit the portal today, and pretty busy portal weekend for LSU as they've hosted some of the biggest names in the transfer portal at defensive line on campus. Any movement there? We'll get to that with Shay Dixon when we return. It's AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Action Industries. For 42 years, our friends at Action Industries have been servicing the petrochemical and refinery markets. Of course, if you need a commercial contractor, Action Industries. If you're a turnaround coordinator, a maintenance manager, you need to get to know Action Industries. They're a great local company that will make you a priority. You need a 100-person job. You go hire one of the big mega companies, you're not a priority. At Action Industries, you have a 100-person job. You are their biggest client, and they give you all of their best. It's Action Industries. Remember, on top of just doing, of course, all the commercial contractor work, Action Industries has so many other services they offer. Fabrication shop services, pipe, structural steel, pressure vessels. Not everyone does pressure vessels, but Action Industries does. And they fabricate in separate shops, alloy and carbon steel. The two sections are segregated. You know why that's important. They do food-grade fabrication, exchanger tube cleaning. It's Action Industries. Check them out online, Action Industries.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Busy portal day for LSU. Opposite ends of the spectrum. John Emery hits the portal, as does freshman offensive lineman Joe Cryer. Early enrollee goes through spring, and then he's already gone before he ever even plays a game. We'll talk plenty about that, and I'll give you some reaction as we move throughout the afternoon. Every Tuesday, joined by Shay Dixon on 3 the Bengal Tiger. Talk some recruiting. Shady, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing really well. I guess we can start there with the news of the day. John Emery, Joe Cryer hit the portal. Maybe a thought on both?
Yeah, well, with John Emery obviously was one who, given he wasn't part of LSU spring ball, that it was, hey, I'm going to test the NFL draft and kind of just see where things go. And quite clearly along the way was able to say, hey, look, either enter the draft pool or I maintain my eligibility. And I'm guessing he did hire an agent or something of that route because now he's in the portal. And he got, I talked to some sources, a medical for one of his years. Obviously, had multiple years where he was banged up, and there was a COVID year in there. So he's got one more year of eligibility left. Will be expected to graduate here from LSU, get his degree in May, and then off to his next stop, which I presume for John would be somewhere where he can get some high usage and try to get back to form, both health-wise and then on the field, because certainly we've seen when he's been healthy and at his best, he's dominant. He's turned games around, whether it was Auburn or others over the years. And then Joe Cryer, obviously a little bit of a surprise, right? I mean, for a December signee to already be hitting the portal, but we know they're in a numbers crunch. They are now to 82 scholarship players. And the max is 85, but we know that they're also heavily involved in the portal, and we're not sure if attrition is done yet with LSU players entering the portal. You've got 7 more days of that window, but with Cryer, I think that they're obviously to lead off. There's probably a lot of nuances to this that I'm not privy to, and the public isn't and won't be, and whichever direction, Cryer wanted to go or however it unfolded, in terms of just on the field, we expected him to come in and be that backup center, and DJ Chester obviously being the heir apparent there to Charles Turner, and he took all the first team reps in the spring. What I think threw things off a bit was that, remember, right, kind of late in the period, Matt, that Brad Davis had 5 linemen, and all of a sudden he flips a 6 guy in Cohen Eccles from Texas A&M, who was ranked as an interior offensive lineman, and Cohen comes in and instead of playing guard, plays center, and he was kind of talked up a lot this spring. So him being an early enrollee, it seems like those two, 1 and 2 deeps are taken up, and for Cryer, if he's wanting to play center, or maybe at least go somewhere else and play guard and see the field a little bit more quickly, getting into the portal now and asking for your release. So he got released from his national letter of intent in LI. Something we don't say as much or as often as we do in IL anymore, but got released from that. So he's good to go wherever he wants to go and would be immediately eligible and ready to play wherever in the fall.
So, Shay, you talked about the numbers. So LSU's down to 82. Do you anticipate there's a desire to add as many as 3 scholarship players via the portal?
I would paint it as this, and again, this is a discussion that's happening in personnel departments across the country daily that would take hours to talk about, but whatever number they settle on of guys leaving, if it's 82, if it's 81, if it's 80, 79, whatever it is, they'll add players. I think that they'll add a few defensive tackles if everything goes well for them, and we could see them hit some best availables. But it wouldn't shock me if they didn't get to the 85, because you always like to have that little bit of wiggle room, not just because of the portal, but look, we're talking about a crunch right now. If a year from now you're anticipating being in the same crunch, then you have a couple of scholarships already freed up to where you're not over the max like they were this year, where I think they're up to 21 guys who have hit the portal between the first portal window and this one. Obviously, much of it due to natural attrition. There were some Lance Hurds in there that people didn't see coming and certainly wished he would have stuck around for, but I think that's just kind of the nature of where we're at right now with having to stay at 85 or under and then throwing in the portal.
Shay Dixon on 3 the Bengal Tiger. So let's talk about the portal and then where the targets are. Obviously, defensive line is where everybody's starting. Brian Kelly has stated it on the record. That's going to be their target. Catch us up, Shay, on where we are, understanding that Philip Bleedy, the Indiana transfer, picked Auburn. We know that. What about the rest of the guys that are still on the board? What do we know?
Yeah, so we know that they've got one in, right? Gio Paez out of Wisconsin, who comes as a grad transfer. He'll get here this summer. Will finish up at Wisconsin, transfer in. And he's a guy I talked to him. Look, he started games last year. He was going to start for Wisconsin this year, but he wants to be in a 4-down system. And Bo Davis called, and he was in. So you've got one. I think they want to get to 3. And they've got a couple visiting. One just wrapped his visit up, and another coming later in the week. But Simeon Barrow had been in town since Sunday. He's coming out of Michigan State. He left today. I'm supposed to catch up with him, so we'll see how he thought of the visit and what he's doing next, because obviously LSU did get his first visit, but boy, are teams not from coast to coast, literally Miami to Southern Cal, blowing him up to try to get him to say, hey, look, don't commit right away, take some visits, at least come see us, because this is at least for on 3, the highest ranked uncommitted D tackle in the portal. 30 starts, over 100 career tackles. This is an instant starter wherever he goes. And then later this week, and he's a grad student. On the flip side, Matt, you've got a guy in Dominic Williams coming out of TCU who hit the portal and has multiple years of eligibility. He's only a sophomore, but has started every game in the first 2 years, was on that TCU team that went to a national title, and really has been considered one of their best players in both seasons. And now he hits the portal in the spring, and that was one that TCU folks I talked to said, hey, look, if there was a guy we could circle on this team that they could not afford to lose, it was him, and he did. So he's got a bunch of visits already lined up, but lines up his LSU in for this weekend. Sunday, I believe he gets on campus Friday, leaves on Sunday, I believe is his schedule, and then we'll have a decision not soon thereafter. And look, 7 more days of the portal is how long it's open. I'm not ruling out at all that more guys hit that LSU would be interested in.
Speaking of Williams, real quick, Shay, I see On 3 has him. It looks like it's Colorado, LSU, or sort of the two teams that appear to be the front runner on, at least according to On 3 there. Can you walk us through how those percentages pop? It's a Colorado 42, LSU 37%. I mean, is that just walk us through those numbers and what other possibilities might be out there?
Yeah, that's really a breakdown. It's tough for portal guys. When you're talking about the On 3 RPM, it's easier to view from high school guys because it tracks how many times you've visited campus, a number of different indicators into your recruitment, and then picks made for those schools. And that's what kind of delineates who maybe is up top as the perceived favorite and second place and all that. With portal guys, it's a little different because picks haven't gone in yet. But I will say, for Dominic Williams, a lot of teams are here in the mix. And he was already at Texas, checking out the OU spring game as well. LSU's on his list, and I believe he had, including Colorado, 2 more visits in that little mix. I think it was 4 or 5 visits in a row. So right away from hitting the portal, he got on the road, and I think in the span of 7 or 8 days is going to see, 5 or 6 schools.
Shay Dixon On 3, the Bengal Tiger. A couple more, and I do want to ask you about one big-time high school prospect from Louisiana for 2026 in just a quick second. We talked about running back. With only 3 guys because of the uncertainty of Trey Holly, if there is a must-take player at running back, would they consider that for this portal class?
I think you consider it. Here's how I would, if I'm in the mind of Frank Wilson, the running backs coach, I would be approaching it. I think Trey Holly's expected back on the team. I think you already knew you were going into next season with 4 running backs, and they didn't really have any action in the first portal window in that regard. So it didn't seem like an immediate need for him. And obviously, does that change in the spring? Well, the only thing that's changed is Holly's been away from the team. If he's expected back, I think they feel good about this group. That said, if you're going to take a portal running back, think about it in these terms. You have Caden Durham about to show up on campus, who is tearing Texas apart in track right now with just some unbelievable times for a 200-plus pounder who was on a back-to-back state title team. Then you've got next year committed the number 1 running back in Harlem Berry from New Orleans, and then the number 11 running back in J.T. Lindsey from Alexandria. So you've got help on the way. You can always get into the portal next year if you need to at running back. But if you took anyone this year, Matt, because of those guys coming, you would only probably entertain a guy that would have 1 year of eligibility remaining and wasn't here wanting 15 carries, 20 carries, because you've got Josh Williams and Caleb Jackson and Trey Holly and Caden Durham. So if they were to take a portal running back, I think it would be an insurance guy who can just be there, be reliable, and step up if some guys go down.
Shay Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. One more for you, Shay. I was asked on the text line about Jakeem Stewart for 2026. The latest there, and any buzz about like possibly reclassifying. What can you tell us is the latest with the big defensive lineman from St. Aug?
Yeah, he had talked about on 3. He came on one of the podcasts with Philip Dukes and said he had thought about the idea of reclassifying, but really wanted to take some visits right now and then think about it in the summer and then line up if he had to reclassify, taking some classes and what he would need to do to then be ready to graduate a year early. But no decision made there. I think right now what people are kind of reacting to is that he is making his big wave of visits. And again, this is a kid from St. Aug, New Orleans, number 1 player in the country, number 1 D lineman, got to play D tackle. Like as much as we talked about for this whole segment, their need for D linemen and D tackles, you've got the number 1 guy sitting in your backyard coming off of a year of this past cycle, at least, where you signed Dominic McKinley, the number 1 player and a 5-star, but made a visit to USC. He's got some connections there that I think he kind of has the Trojans in the mix. He's looked at Ohio State, been up there. But at the end of the day, I think this is going to be one that plays out, and LSU gets a bunch of visits. And look, they want to lock down Louisiana. Frank Wilson's on staff in recruiting New Orleans, and obviously Bo Davis here. I'm still betting on the Tigers if you were to ask me to pick somebody.
Shay, does LSU have any ties to St. Aug?
I don't know where Tyrann Mathieu went. That'd probably be the only one. I think that's the only guy I even think of. But he was a 3-star, so I'm not worried about it.
Suffice to say, the road from Baton Rouge there to Purple Knight territory has been paved in gold for quite a while, and LSU should feel pretty good about it. Shay Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Y'all follow him at Shay Dixon. You're the best, man. We always appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, I'm not a St. Aug grad. I'm not that smart. So moving on.
We can't all be. Hey, but St. Aug is no Calici. I mean, all I remember is, hey, look, you go back and look up the 1999 state quarterfinals down at Gormley. I mean, Calici 14, Aug 7. It was a pretty good day. I heard the starting right guard for Catholic had a big day that day. Just saying. I'm going to check it out.
Oh, I love it. We'll end it there. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, Shay. We'll see you. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Pure Restoration, pure-restoration.com, pure-restoration.com. Kill mold, remove odor. Y'all know we're in the mold capital of the world. By the way, I get it. I was the starting right guard on a decent high school football team. I'm just joking, all right? Before I get murdered in my inbox, I had nothing to do with anything. All right, pure-restoration.com. We live in the mold capital of the world. It's wet and it's humid here. Those are perfect breeding grounds for mold. A lot of times you might even have black mold in your walls and you don't even know about it. So call Pure Restoration. It's a good thing, just even as a preventative or as a disinfectant, to have come spray your home, your office building. They commonly contract with schools, so once a year they'll come out and spray an entire school. It's cost effective, it's affordable, it's efficient. It's Pure Restoration. It's a patented non-toxic dry fog, so you're not cutting sheetrock and pulling out furniture or anything like that. They come in, just leave your home as is, or office building. The spray, let the fog dwell. As soon as it dissipates, boom, you're back in free and clear. It's Pure Restoration. Pure-restoration.com. Pure-restoration.com. All right, y'all. It's After Further Review. We'll go around the SEC when we come back. We did talk there with Shady about John Emery and Joe Cryer entering the portal. I do have some thoughts I want to get to a bit later in the show. A lot to get to. Is 1 hour from right now. Christian Clark will be here. We'll talk a little Pels, preview game 2, which is tomorrow night. And we do have to talk LSU Nichols. We'll get to that in hour 3 as Tigers are back on the field out at the box. Something else I want to talk about, because a lot of people have asked, is about, how you manage the pitching staff for the remainder of the season. I do have some thoughts on that, especially when you consider some of the guys who are draft-eligible sophomores this year and how it may play out. So we'll get to all that coming up a bit later in the show. We're glad you're here. We'll go around the SEC next on AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Darren James and Associates, brokered by LPT Realty. Every home listed by every company, all in one place. You know where to find them. Agent225.com, agent225.com. And listen, when it comes to Darren James, just go look at what his clients say. Jennifer Merrick said Darren and his crew have been absolutely excellent. When trying to sell my dad's house, we had a lot of bumps in the road. Darren and his peeps knew exactly how to handle every situation and smooth out every bump with ease. I definitely could not have done any of this without his guidance and patience. She notes, you need patience to work with me, LOL. Everything they've done is greatly appreciated and will never be forgotten. Thanks to Darren James and Associates, brokered by LPT Realty. That's another 5-star raving fan about Darren James. And remember, 73% of people try to sell their home by owner, end up hiring a realtor. Save yourself the time and the money. Call Darren James today. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
Have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us.
I make a little room and she climbs on up. I open up a throttle and stir a little dust. Just look at her.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and the Baton Rouge Clinic bring you the Dreams Come True Radiothon. Dreams Come True is an organization designed to help grant dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses and their families. The Dreams Come True Radiothon is presented today by Boudreaux Electric, Mid-City Title, and Unique Physique. Donate today at 104.5ESPN.com.
Muse, you in this song, I feel like you play this all the time. Personal fave of yours?
I don't know what you're talking about. It's a good song, but no, man, we try to keep it fresh, try to rotate them out in and out here.
I don't know. Feels like you play this one all the time.
It's not all the time.
It almost kind of feels like you play it every break.
That definitely can't be the case.
Sunshine. By the way, that LSU Gator, not like an alligator, but the Gator, you know, the utility vehicle, the Gator, with all the LSU logos on it. They're raffling that thing off for the Ole Miss weekend. And you buy tickets, all the proceeds benefit Future Farmers of America. So awesome thing to do. pretty stinking cool. I was talking to Grace earlier today. She wants to do a video of me and Condon riding in the thing. All I'm saying is that's fine with me, but I'm driving. There's no way I'm letting Big C get behind the wheel of an all-terrain vehicle and let me sit shotgun. There's just no way. Not doing it.
I think
20
he
years
can
ago,
handle
Big
it.
C maybe.
I think he can still handle it.
64-year-old Big C with multiple foot and Achilles surgeries and all that. No.
It's experienced.
Big C. Sit in the passenger seat. Get your Metamucil, whatever it is, your Ovaltine, and let someone who still has a lot of vitality handle this. Oh, I'm gonna hear about that one.
When is this video happening?
I don't know.
Okay.
Grace just texted me today. And I was like, I love the idea. I mean, it was probably 30 minutes before we came on here. Just kind of going over talking points and stuff for today. Okay, it's after further review. Oh, did you see the Florida State rings?
Yeah.
What is that?
You just can't do that, dude.
You can't do what?
You cannot put Unconquered on a ring and completely omit a game that happened. You cannot do that.
What if the game was an exhibition?
Don't care. The game, we all saw it, and it wasn't an exhibition.
It was an exhibition. Bowl games are an exhibition.
It counted for your record. It was not an exhibition. By definition, it is not an exhibition.
Everything had already been decided. Didn't matter for anything. It's an exhibition. Glorified exhibition.
You just can't do that.
Why not?
Because you were quite literally conquered by 60.
Not at 13-0. They went 12-0. They won the ACC championship game. They went 13-0. They were ACC champions. That's what it says. The ring says ACC champions on it.
And then what happened?
An exhibition.
No, it counted. It cannot be an exhibition if it counts.
It didn't count.
It did count.
Says who?
Their record. They're 13-1.
Yeah, says who?
The record book.
I don't know. Central Florida claims a national championship. We have a history of college football, people just claiming things.
Didn't one publication actually award them
That's
one?
the thing. So they claim it.
Right. Well, I mean, what you should, by the way.
It was like the St. Pete Times or something.
Hey, man.
It was the Gainesville Sun awarded them the national championship, something like that.
But nobody claims Florida State is undefeated.
They do.
That's not how it works.
Why not?
Because an actual, there has to be at least a newspaper or whatever claimed UCF.
A newspaper? Newspapers that source their information from all over the place. They probably use AI-generated bots to write their content that have complete jamokes running news departments right now. Like, who's the creep? Greg Doyle up in Indianapolis, who's making heart gestures at Caitlin Clark. That's what you want because a newspaper did it, Muse? Is that why?
I'm just saying.
You want to run down to Opelika and go see what the newsroom in Opelika looks like, and you can tell me that's who you're determining wins a national championship?
Why did you just call out Opelika?
Well, you ever been through Opelika?
I mean, probably once. Yeah, on the way to Georgia or something. But no, I'm just saying it's. That's how it used to always be done, right?
And that's why it's absurd and why we're switching to a more suitable postseason when a team that wins a Power 5 title, goes undefeated, gets a chance to play for a championship, Muse, because the way it's always been done is patently absurd. It's a farce. We had the President of the United States one year award a national championship, and it was just accepted. We got 5-loss Alabama teams in history claiming titles. Who cares? Of course you can. That's the crux of college football. College football's postseason's always been a farce. So if you want to put Unconquered on a ring and you were 13-0 and won an ACC championship and had a great season and then everybody left and your quarterback was hurt and you played a bowl game nobody wanted to play in, you had a bunch of walk-ons and scout teamers go out there and lose by 60, I don't care. By the way, that's college football's fault. You know what, TV networks? You know what, college football playoff? Because your system sucks so hard, nobody wants to play in one of your premier bowl games, so you end up with, what's the final of that game? What's the final?
63-3.
See, you've ended up with a 63-3 game in one of your premier games, and now this team acts like it didn't even happen because guess what? It shouldn't have happened. Because your system's a farce. All you old men running around, you ugly jackets, trying to just make $1 off of free labor. And you know what Florida State did? They flipped the bird at your system. And I would have done the actual bird, but we're on TV, so I didn't want to, respect to our WBTR audience. I want to YouTube, you could do it because it's streaming. You could do that. But I can't do it on TV. So I'm going to do it behind my hand. I'm doing it. Look, Muse, I'm doing it. You see it?
Yeah, I can, and the two-shot probably can as well. But,
I'm flipping the bird. That's what I did. Collectively to the system. Good on you, Florida State. If you let me buy one, I'll buy one. I'll buy one of their rings, and I'll wear it on the show. If they let me buy one, I'll wear it on the show. Someone get me Mike Norvell. Oh, you know what? I'm asking Gabe Fertitta.
There you go.
Former Calichi coach Gabe Fertitta on staff there at Florida State. I'll ask Gabe. Gabe, how do I get a ring? I want to wear it. I want to wear an unconquered ring. I want a shirt and a ring and a hat. Unconquered. I'm wearing it on the show. Watch me do it, Muse. Try to tell me otherwise.
Okay.
I mean, there are UCF cats out there with national championship rings, Muse.
I mean, yeah.
But you just said, hey, a newspaper said they won it. So
yeah. No one ever said that about Florida State. Should they have gotten a chance? Absolutely. But they quite literally lost the game that counted for their record.
It didn't count for nothing.
It counted for their record.
What if Pat Forty voted on it? He's a newspaper guy, right, Muse?
Unfortunately.
Who else is a newspaper guy? Like that newspaper guy said it.
Hey, man. I'm just looking for some credibility somewhere.
We do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC. Newspaper guy. Kick rock, Muse.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference, the Auburn Tigers.
Full overhaul of Auburn's defensive front continued on Tuesday. They signed Kerryon Crawford, third addition on the defensive line. From Arkansas State, of course, they already added Philip Bleedy out of Indiana and Isaiah Rakes from USC. Crawford started all 13 games for Arkansas State last year.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Curtis Perry entered the transfer portal. He becomes I don't see how many players it is now that's hit the portal. Let's see, played just one game last season, redshirted back in 2022. DeBoer previously stated Alabama's needs at the offensive line have needs at offensive line and defensive back. So Perry kind of bounced between edge rusher, interior defensive line. Played at those two positions when he was high school, and then obviously joined Alabama. He's the 13th defensive player to hit the portal from last year's team.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
A week after entering the NBA draft and stating his intention to go pro, Kentucky center Ugonna Onyenso has entered the transfer portal, which is wild because he said he wasn't thinking at all about coming back to play college basketball. But now, he said, quote, I'm 100% focused on the NBA. But now, apparently, could happen. In his freshman season with the Wildcats, Onyenso appeared in 16 games off the bench, playing for just 7 minutes per game.
Texas A&M!
After landing a transfer commitment out of the Big Ten on Monday, Aggies have gone back to the Big Ten on Tuesday from Minnesota. Their center, Pharrell Payne, has committed to Texas A&M. Also had interest from Oregon, Texas, and others. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. Payne is the number 47 overall and number 13 center in the transfer portal.
The Missouri Tigers.
And Missouri has named Memphis athletic director Laird Veach as their new athletic director. Yes. Laird Veach, Laird Veatch. Can we get Sharif on the line for a ruling? It's been too long. Call Sharif, please. Laird Veach. Terms of the contract not disclosed. Let's see. Veach replaces Desiree Reed-Francois, who left for Arizona back in February. Okay, there you have it. That is around the SEC. Oh, we're brought to you by Supper Club. Yesterday, I was driving down, I believe it was Bluebonnet. And I saw a billboard. And it was a billboard of a tomahawk ribeye. And it just had the words, if you know, you know. And if you don't know, I'll let you in on a little bit of a secret. The tomahawk ribeye over at Supper Club is a Wagyu tomahawk ribeye. And Supper Club is the only restaurant in Louisiana that sells this Wagyu tomahawk ribeye from the True Grit Cattle Company in Western Pennsylvania. Look, there's a lot of places where you can go to get USDA prime meat. And that used to be a really big deal. Now it's so common, you can go to great grocery stores, into their meat market, and get USDA prime meat. But there's only one place in the entire state of Louisiana where if you want a Wagyu tomahawk ribeye from the True Grit Cattle Company in Pennsylvania, the only place in this state you can get it is at Supper Club, where the experience is always sensational. The food experience is unmatched anywhere, not only in Louisiana, in the region, and it really rivals any in the country. And Supper Club has just opened up bar seating any Tuesday to Saturday. First come, first serve. Knock off of work. Want to meet a client, go close some business. Before you head home, want to have a cocktail with some coworkers, meet your significant other for dinner and drinks at the bar. Always walk into Supper Club at the bar, first come, first serve, without a reservation. And remember, gents, you don't have to have a sport coat or a jacket there at Supper Club. If you want it, of course you can. But the state dress code's on the website. Look, collar, golf shirt, I can go golf shirt, slacks. You can walk into Supper Club, dress like that. So after work, pop one in. Pop one in tonight. It's Tuesday. Pop one in tonight. Have a cocktail at Supper Club. SupperClubBTR.com for reservations. SupperClubBTR.com. All right, y'all. It's after further review. We're glad you're hanging out here. All right, let me knock out a break. When we come back, I do want to talk about the John Emery situation. So John Emery hit the transfer portal. God, am I going to have time? I may not have time to delve too deeply into this, but I do want to get to it. John Emery hit the transfer portal, and how he got his eligibility is another year of eligibility is really, really interesting. So I do want to talk about that. Stay with us here. It's AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com. Rouse's.com. We were over at Rouse's. Told you on Friday, I had dinner. My sister was in town from Kansas with my little niece, and popped over to my dad's house. They wanted crawfish, so Dad ran over to Rouse's right there at a Long Farm, picked up 20 pounds of crawfish, and we all ate like kings and queens, and it was phenomenal. $4.50 a pound live, boiled, $2.99 a pound live. Prices keep coming down on crawfish, and I was encouraging, man. Go to Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com, and if you hit the weekly specials tab right there at the top of the page at Rouse's.com, it'll tell you all of their deals. So if you're going to shop, and look, I understand for a lot of people, money's tight with the rate of inflation, everything that's happened. Man, you want to shop great deals? Rouse's has them every day. So go to the website, check out the great deals, or the app, download the Rouse's app, Rouse's.com. Rouse's, this feels like home.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs.
It really turns her on. She's always staring at me.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
All right, wrapping up hour number 2. We are going to continue our SEC spring recaps. We'll talk Mizzou after the top of the hour. We'll get to Texas A&M in hour number 3. Our buddy David Nuno from Texags will be here. We talked about this earlier this hour with Shay Dixon, but John Emery has hit the transfer portal. And I was so curious how John Emery has another year of eligibility. Shay Dixon was with us earlier this hour and said that he's been told that it was a medical. That is how John Emery got an extra year. So just follow me here on this path. In 2019, John Emery was a freshman who played in 10 games. 2020 was the COVID year, so that's just why it was a free year for everybody, right? 2021, John was ineligible academically. Now you can't use your redshirt year to counterbalance the ineligible year. It just counts as a year of eligibility. Well, 22, he played in 11 games. 23, he came back this year, played in 7 games, if you remember, and then got injured. So that's the 4 years that he played. So technically, Emery's out of eligibility. So Shea said that Emery was able to get granted a medical. However, he still already played 4 years. So if you got the medical, great. But to be able to transfer, and be eligible immediately, well, I guess everybody can now. But as a graduate as well, he could leave and go anywhere. But John Emery still has to graduate. So my understanding is the target is graduation in May. Ultimately, I think what I would say about John Emery, when you look at John's legacy at LSU, it's this. He was a 5-star who was the #1 running back in the country, and injuries and academics derailed his career here. But when he was on the field, he was absolutely awesome. Maybe no bigger moment than the touchdown against Alabama in 2022.
3 receivers left, 1 to the right. Dump it off Emery, near side, 25-20, to the boundary, 15-10, makes a cut at the 5, he's into the end zone! Touchdown, Fighting Tigers!
The signature win of Brian Kelly's first year, and that was the play that I think everyone, before overtime, of course, they're going to look back and remember that moment from John Emery. But I'll tell you what, man, John Emery's a guy that at any point during his time at LSU, because of academics, because of injuries, in this era, it would have been so easy for him to leave. But he stuck it out. He made the most of his time on the field, limited as it was, and now even coming back from an injury, still trying to get across the finish line and graduate. I commend him, man. It's amazing perseverance, and I wish John Emery well wherever he goes. Hour number 2 next.
AFR.
I've been doing business with Loomis for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. This just in. The Bucks announced power forward Giannis Antetokounmpo will not play in Game 2 of their first-round NBA playoff series tonight against the Pacers due to a strained calf. Clippers small forward Kawhi Leonard, right knee inflammation, out for Game 2 tonight versus Dallas. Milwaukee and LA each up 1-0 in their first-round series. Suns seek to even things up with the Timberwolves at a game apiece in Game 2 tonight, 7 Eastern, ESPN Radio. A guarantee from center Joel Embiid that the 76ers will win their series against the Knicks, even though they trail 2-9. Embiid, after the Game 2 loss, said the Sixers are good, know what they've got to fix, will keep fighting, and are the better team. ESPN NBA analyst Jay Williams.
He's wrong. With him not being healthy, they're not the better team. They're the more talented team, but the better team is the team that executes the details, and that's where the Knicks live constantly.
Game 3 is Thursday. Stanley Cup playoffs first round. Canucks goaltender Thatcher Demko, undisclosed injury, out at least for Game 2 against the Predators tonight, 10 Eastern on ESPN2. Casey DeSmith starts in net in his place.
Feeling great starts with a great shave, and great shaves start with Barbasol Shaving Cream. That's Barbasol Shaving Cream, an American classic for over 100 years. Close Shave America. Close Shave Barbasol.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios.
That's right.
Hour 2 off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Toby Tom Blake. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. We'll talk some Pels with Christian Clark, bottom of this hour. Another LSU offensive lineman has entered, or I should say, an LSU offensive lineman has hit the transfer portal. We'll talk about that in about 15 minutes. We continue our SEC spring recaps. One of the biggest surprising teams of the 2023 season was the Missouri Tigers. What do they do for an encore? Let's find out.
The SEC Spring Recap on After Further Review, the Missouri Tigers.
Well, we got a chance to talk to Eli Hoff during the season. Of course, LSU played up in Como last year. One of the blemishes on an otherwise sterling season for Eli Drinkwitz in 2023. Eli Hoff, St. Louis Post-Dispatch, good enough to join us for a couple of minutes. Hey, man, how are you?
Doing well. How are y'all doing this afternoon?
Doing really well. We usually start by asking people about quarterback. I'm going to flip it because I think for our audience, the most interesting thing is with LSU, of course, taking Blake Baker away from Columbia. How has the change at D.C. gone, or how did it go in spring for Missouri?
Yeah, well, it's a little early to tell, obviously, with what the season's going to look like. But in terms of the spring, it was a pretty smooth transition. Mizzou brought in Corey Batoon, who was the defensive coordinator down at South Alabama. He's got experience he's been around Ole Miss, been around Hawaii. He's been around upper level college football. Brought him in to be the defensive play caller. The thinking was that he can run a similar style defense to what Blake Baker ran. So not a whole lot of schematic change from what Mizzou was running last year, but definitely an adjustment in coaching style. As I'm sure LSU fans are starting to realize, Blake Baker's a very outgoing, energetic guy. Corey Batoon, he's from Hawaii, and you can tell he's a lot more laid back and kind of mellow, getting the details. I saw him yell a couple times during spring practice, but not too much. So definitely an adjustment there taking place.
It's going to be an adjustment as well, just with the personnel. Darius Robinson, Ennis Rakestraw, Chris Abrams-Drain. You're looking at some big-name defensive players that are all expecting to hear their name called. How much of a personnel adjustment happened throughout spring on that defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, there's a pretty extensive one. The linebacker room staying mostly the same. The safety room staying mostly the same, but it'll be 2 new starters at cornerback, at least 3, maybe 4 starters along the defensive line. And just because there's so much rotation there, really, 6 of the 8 or so defensive linemen that you see in the fall are probably going to be new. So fairly heavy there. There's even contributions from freshmen who aren't on campus yet, who could be factoring into the mix in the fall, depending what kind of shape they come into. But it'll be a lot of player turnover on that side of the ball for sure.
Expected to be active in this spring portal on the defensive side?
A little bit, maybe a defensive tackle. It's hard to tell in some of the spring practices how much the options there are really popping. So maybe a defensive tackle there. I could also see an ad on the offensive line. And Eli Drinkwitz has said if they have a good option, regardless of position, they're not going to say no to anybody. It's kind of a best available situation. But defensive tackle is the only spot where I would really say they're going into this thinking, yeah, we could find an upgrade there.
Eli Hoff on Twitter at by Eli Hoff, Hoff, St. Louis Post-Dispatch, covers the Missouri Tigers. All right, now let's flip it over and talk about the quarterback. Brady Cook is going to be a returning starter and probably one of the more accomplished returning starters in the SEC for 2024. Anything noticeable or material there with Cook this spring?
Some of it is going to just be a second year of working with Kirby Moore, the offensive coordinator, and what aspects of the playbook do they maybe get into that they didn't last year in Moore's first season. I think with Brady Cook, too, it's going to be playing a smarter game. He's someone who likes to run in a physical fashion, which almost got him in trouble at times. Last year, there were a couple hits he took that, if somebody's coming in 4 inches higher or lower, maybe it ends up in a worse spot for him. So if Mizzou's going to actually be a CFP contender this year, which this team really thinks it can be, then he needs to be smart with what hits he's taking, especially early in the season. So it'll be interesting to see how he handles that burden, because that's a unique and a different burden for some of these quarterbacks, where you're no longer having to prove yourself, you're having to maintain yourself, I guess, in a certain way.
Who is he going to hand the ball to? With Cody Schrader, obviously out of eligibility, guy that, I mean, Eli, as you well know, surprised and ended up being a first-team All-SEC running back, sort of an incredible success story. Who's the heir apparent there?
Yeah, well, it's funny. They're in a similar spot to where they were a year ago, and thinking that it would be running back by committee. Last year, that just went off the rails in the best possible way for Mizzou with what Cody Schrader did. So they brought in a couple of transfers. Nate Noel from App State and Marcus Carroll from Georgia State. Both are going into their final years of college football, so there's some of those kind of veteran, experienced, physical running backs you can expect there. But they have different styles. Kawan Lacey is an incoming freshman who has been doing some crazy things from a track standpoint down in Texas, so he's got speed. Jamal Roberts he was a freshman last year who, if Cody Schrader hadn't done what he'd done, I think Jamal Roberts would have been in the mix for touches by the end of the year. Nobody was taking the ball away from Cody Schrader, but still an open competition through spring ball. That'll continue into fall camp, and we'll see. I would guess there'll be 2, maybe even 3 players who are getting touches as the regular season begins. And
then there's obviously the Luther Burden situation as well, man. What do they look like at receiver for Brady Cook throwing the ball?
Yeah, no losses at wide receiver this offseason, which is pretty remarkable. Luther Burden obviously coming back for what will presumably be his last year of college football, assuming he wants to enter the NFL draft next year as soon as he's able. Theo Weiss coming back, who brings some of that contested catch ability, is a good option in the red zone. Mookie Cooper, who's the third option there, but he's a veteran presence who, he had some interest perhaps in going elsewhere, but decided to come back. So you're bringing 3 really high-level wide receivers back, and Luther Burden being at the top of the list. It's a really strong group of targets for Brady Cook to find.
Burden, of course, was one of the best in all of college football last year. So you mentioned playoffs sort of as the target. If there's something right now, Eli, that might prevent Mizzou from getting there, what is it?
Yeah, well, obviously you worry about any of the stars going down. If they're without Luther Burden or Brady Cook for a prolonged stretch, that probably changes things. The defense, there's a lot of overhaul there, like we talked about, from the personnel standpoint, from the coordinator standpoint. If there are any big misses there, that could really hurt this team. I think you look at the offensive line too. They really benefited from having all 5 starters on that offensive line available for every single game last year. No real major injuries or even guys just going in questionable on that front. That obviously helps the team having that continuity. So if all of if some of that stuff isn't there, then it becomes a little dicier, but the schedule looks pretty favorable for Missouri this year, and so I think they're still going to be optimistic, even if they're a little bit shallow at some spots.
No Georgia, no Florida, no Tennessee. It looks no LSU, right? I mean, it looks just dramatically different now that there's no divisions, and the path does seem pretty clear there for Missouri. We'll see what they do for an encore after a great season a year ago. Eli Hoff on Twitter at @ByEliHoff, St. Louis Post-Dispatch. We appreciate it, man. Thank you.
No problem. Always happy to come on.
All right, man. We appreciate you. We're brought to you by Optimize, GeneratorPeople.com, GeneratorPeople.com. It is spring. Before you know it, it'll be June, which means the start of hurricane season. If you're thinking about or have ever thought about a Generac automatic home standby generator, you need to call Optimize today. Because listen, you've heard me say it before, like the worst time to start thinking about a generator is when the storm's in the Gulf. Because you can't just call them and they come and plug it in, then you have a generator. There are permits that have to be gotten through the city, which Optimize handles. You have to engage with your electricity company as well. There are specifications where it can't, the generator has to be so far from windows and things like that. Eric and I went through this after Ida. We were without power for, I think, 7 days after Ida, and we said no more. I mean, Drew has medicines that have to stay cold. If he ever does have sort of a respiratory issue where we need to put him on oxygen, like we need to have the power to power the oxygen concentrator. So we can't be without power. Like if we lose power, we're leaving our home. So that was finally enough for us. And I'm telling you, it's been a godsend. Just a few weeks ago with all that awful weather that came through, we were without power for 24 hours. Well, as soon as the power went out, boom, generator kicked on. It was like nothing happened. The rest of our street was dark for 24 hours. We had power like nothing had ever happened. There's 2 questions. Number 1, can you afford it? Number 2, who should you call if you want a generator? Number 1, can you afford it? Will Optimize has upfront pricing. They're never going to surprise you with anything. When they give you that quote, that's the price. That's it. There's not going to be other fees and add-ons. The price they quote you is it. That is the bottom line price. It's number one. And they have financing options for any budget. So, yes, you can afford it. And why should you call Optimize? Because Optimize is Louisiana's number one Generac dealer. And the reason they're Louisiana's number one Generac dealer, they sell more Generac automatic home standby generators than anybody. The reason is because the only thing they do is sell, service, and install Generac automatic home standby generators. That's it. They're not an electric company that has 15 different services, and one of them is generators. So when a technician comes to your house, well, were they going on a different call and now they're doing generators? No. When you call Optimize, the only thing they do is sell, service, and install Generac automatic home standby generators. It's Optimize. GeneratorPeople.com, GeneratorPeople.com. They service the entire 1012 corridor. So from Lake Charles to Slidell and points in between, if you want a generator, go to GeneratorPeople.com, GeneratorPeople.com. Okay, it's after further review. We are going to talk some Pels with Christian Clark, bottom of this hour. Zion met with reporters today. Do you have an update on did he update the hamstring, Muse? I know you were cut. Okay, not yet. Muse is working on that right now. Zion met with reporters, so we'll get to that with Christian Clark in about 17 minutes from right now. And when we come back, I do want to talk about Joe Cryer, the freshman early enrollee who already hit the transfer portal for LSU. What's the deal there? What does it mean for LSU potentially in the transfer portal looking at targets after having lost an offensive lineman they were not expecting to lose? So we'll get to that when we come back. Glad you're here. It's AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-0001, 752-0001. Y'all, I tell you this every year, and I've been telling you this every year for 13 years now. Call River City's 1 Hour Air for your preseason AC tune-up. The best, I've given this analogy a bajillion times, technical term, hashtag fact, but it's so true. You wouldn't get in your car and drive across the country without first checking your tire pressure, changing the oil, making sure the check engine light isn't on. Like, you wouldn't do that. You don't want to get stranded somewhere in the middle of your drive. You want to make sure your car is reliable to get you to your destination. Well, similar with your AC in Louisiana summers. It is going to be brutal and relentless. If you want your AC to run efficiently and to extend the life of your unit, make sure you have your preseason AC tune-up. Call River City's 1 Hour Air. 752-0001.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Loomis for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
After further review powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
I knew something happened, and I didn't feel nothing like how I did on the right side last year. The right side was definitely sharper pain. This one didn't really feel like that. It just felt like, something's off right now.
That's Zion Williamson just a bit ago. The good news is it sounds like the hamstring injury that he suffered against the Lakers, not as severe as the one he suffered a year ago. The bad news, of course, is, well, now this is back-to-back years. You have a soft tissue injury like a hamstring, which continues to happen with Z, which, I mean, it's the thing that we've always talked about. But he was asked in this media availability about the possibility of him returning through the during the playoffs. Here's what Zion said.
As I continue to rehab with the team, the more I pass tests, the quicker I'll be able to return, but I have to get back to a baseline and pass certain tests.
He used the words definitely realistic, were Zion's words. Not in that cup, but he did say in a meeting with the media that is definitely realistic that he would return during the postseason. Pels have to extend their postseason life, however. Of course, they'll play OKC in OKC Game 2 on Wednesday night. Pels right now are a 7.5-point dog in that game. After that, the series shifts to New Orleans. They'll play Saturday, Monday in Games 3 and 4, and you got to win to extend the series and extend the season. It gives you a chance to get back. So we'll continue to follow it. Christian Clark will be here with us in just a smidge. We're looking forward to that conversation with Christian Clark, as always. We'll kind of talk about what how Game 1 went, what changes they might make in Game 2. We'll do that coming up here shortly. All right. It's After Further Review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'll go to sunnyquip.com, sunnyquip.com. So in the transfer portal era, there's not many things that are going to surprise us, right? We've just become accustomed to players entering the portal, exiting the portal, transferring within the conference, just everything. There's just nothing that really is surprising anymore. I mean, we saw Caden Proctor play his freshman season at Bama, go to Iowa for spring, and now go back to Bama. But the Joe Cryer situation is an odd scenario that we're probably going to see more and more. So the Cliff's Notes on Joe Cryer, he's an offensive lineman from North Louisiana, and Cryer was an Ole Miss commitment. He visited LSU over the summer, decommitted from Ole Miss on July 30th, and then committed to LSU a day later. Essentially, when he got his LSU offer, he decommitted from Ole Miss and committed to the in-state school. So Cryer, who is a 3-star, the number 76 interior offensive lineman in the country, 27th best player in Louisiana, number 842 nationally. That's not the sort of line that's going to really pop, right? When you look at a prospect, when you're talking about LSU signing guys like Will Campbell, Emery Jones, Lance Hurd, Weston Davis. But, my feeling has always been if Brian Kelly and Brad Davis offer an offensive lineman, I'm good with it because clearly they see something. And Brian Kelly, in that interview he did on with Levitard a week ago, when he was asked about could NIL force him into retirement or push him toward retirement like Saban, he said, look, the thing that he loves about coaching, his why, as he put it, is development. getting kids to graduate and develop them as players and as people. And so when you take a 3-star like this, it's the eye on saying, I'll take that kid from Louisiana, bring him into my program and develop him. And we've seen that work in the past. I mean, probably the best example of that is Lloyd Cushenberry. Lloyd Cushenberry signed with LSU. He was the last guy to get his committable offer in the class. It was basically like on signing day, hold on, let me see if we're going to have a spot. They did. He signs, he redshirts, he waits his turn. Like, they even tried to throw him out the boat, and then he finally got his opportunity in spring, held it down, and then was the starter in 2018 and 2019 on the national championship team, and just became the richest, just signed the richest center deal in the NFL. So there are success stories of guys that come in as a lightly recruited guy, bide their time, develop, get better, and then take off. And I'm sure that was the target here with Joe Cryer. But it's also very clear that when you're a freshman, especially at the line of scrimmage, your path to the field is generally going to be a long one. Will Campbell and Emery Jones playing as freshmen, they are the outlier. They are the exception, not the rule. The rule is Lance Hurd. You're a 5-star. Lance Hurd was, by On3, the number 22 prospect in the country. That's 22 overall at any position. I mean, he was a top 30 prospect in America. Comes into LSU and is basically a backup. Played on special teams. Somebody got hurt. He went in there. I think the Mississippi State game he played when Emery Jones was out. But, man, it's not common to see linemen at this level play a lot as a freshman. But usually when a guy early enrolls, I mean, think of it, Joe Cryer should be in his spring semester of his senior year of high school. Like, he should be finishing up high school this month and then coming to campus, in June. If he followed the traditional path. So most guys that early enroll do so with an eye on getting on the field more quickly. Like, that's why you come in the spring. You say, all right, if I want to have a chance to play as a freshman, I show up for spring football, I go through spring, I get my sea legs under me, I look like a baby giraffe initially, but by the time I go through this, I have a full spring, summer weight training, then fall camp feels more normal, and then by the time you get to the season, you already feel like a second-year player in some respects. So you early enroll with the idea of being able to play as a freshman. And so, out there in spring, I know Joe Cryer was a guy that they talked about maybe playing some center. And look, you've got your starting center locked down. That's DJ Chester. But what was interesting is another early enrollee, Cohen Eccles, was running as the second-team center. And remember, it was after they got Joe Cryer that LSU flipped Cohen Eccles. Now, Cryer could have had that conversation with the staff before he showed up here about, where am I going to fall in the pecking order? But Eccles is the guy that ran as the number 2 center, and Cryer was running with the third team. And look, I mean, I'm not trying to make assumptions or assertions here, but Christian Stamps is a former walk-on. He was running at second-team offensive guard. So if you're a Cryer, you're thinking, man, I'm an early enrollee, I'm a scholarship guy, and this redshirt freshman walk-on is running ahead of me. Like, your path to the field is not near. That much is clear. Now, there's always the possibility, and I will candidly tell you, hand in the air, I do not know if this is the case. I do not know if this is a case where you try to process someone out of the program. Listen, LSU went, when they broke camp for spring at the start of the portal window, they were heavy. They were at 88 scholarship players. So they had to lose. They had to have attrition just to get within compliance the 85 for fall camp, right? Or for the fall semester. But they've already done that. Right? I mean, you've already lost 6 scholarship players. So you've already seen players enter the portal. So you didn't need to lose anymore. You've gone under the 85, so you can still add more guys if you want. And certainly they're targeting defensive linemen. So the timing of it is interesting. The why of it is interesting. But it's just something that I think we're going to see more commonly in the portal era. As strange as it is for a guy to sign, early enroll, go through spring and say, this isn't for me. I just think in the portal era, you shrug your shoulders and say that's just how it's going to be now. So he'll find a better option. But when I look at the LSU offensive line, we all know what you have this year, right? I mean, you got Chester at center, Dellinger and Frazier at guard, Campbell and Jones at tackle. Like, your starting five, you will be in the conversation for the best offensive line in football. Like, I don't know who's got the best offensive line in football. You know, Michigan and Washington were great last year. They lost a bunch of guys. LSU's got 4 guys returning. I don't know what everybody in the country has on their offensive line, so I'm not going to sit here and pound the table and say definitively LSU's the best line in the country. But you're going to be able to make that case. Like, that should be the dominant unit on this team. So the big question, though, comes in 2025 because you're going to lose 4 starters. The only guy that's going to be back in 2025 is your center, DJ Chester. And when you look, Bo Bordelon, Tyree Adams, Paul Mabenga, Ethan Callaway, Kyrie Lee, Weston Davis, Ori Williams. You've got a lot of young scholarship offensive linemen. A lot of guys that you hope step up, grow, and develop and can develop into those roles. It's probably a thing next year at this time, though, or next year in the fall or winter portal window where you're adding veteran offensive linemen. I mean, that's going to be the spot where you say, okay, this is a must now to go add veteran bodies on your offensive line because you're losing 4 starters. But Joe Cryer is one of those guys. It's a Louisiana kid that you would have loved to have seen stick it out, see how he would grow and develop. But in this era, that's the kind of player that you're just probably not going to see stick around when he has the opportunity to leave. So Joe Cryer hits the transfer portal early, enrolls at LSU, goes through spring, and now hits the portal before ever even getting to suit up as a Tiger. Wish him well wherever he goes next. But LSU with 13 scholarship offensive linemen after Cryer's exit, that's more than enough. You don't feel like you have to go add anybody else in this portal window. 13 scholarship offensive linemen is plenty. And keep in mind, that's with Kimo Makanaioli moving to the defensive line. Like, in theory, if you needed to, you could always move Kimo back and give you depth or a rotational body on the offensive side if it came to that. So Tigers, the numbers are plenty good enough. It's just a matter of the future, which you'll supplement with the portal with the veteran player coming in. As we say, portal giveth, portal taketh away. All right, y'all, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by First South Farm Credit. You know, obviously our Tuesday shows are brought to you by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. And I know we have so many farmers who listen to the show. I hear from so many of you all the time. You're firing up that combine. You're out there working the land, and you're on that tractor all day. You listen to us, and I appreciate it so much. And so many of you know about First South Farm Credit. Look, if it's trying to buy 1,000 acres of land for agriculture, maybe you want to finance your farm equipment, First South Farm Credit can help you do that. Maybe it's a smaller scale. Maybe you want that piece of recreational property. Maybe you want 20, 30 acres to build your family's dream home. First South Farm Credit should be your first call. And as a First South Farm Credit, they're owned by their members. So they share the profit with their borrowers. Think about this. They offer a patronage refund. They've done it every year now for 29 years. This will be 30 years in a row that they've offered a patronage refund, which means they share their profits with their borrowers. Meaning you will get, just for doing business with First South Farm Credit, you will get a check every year from First South Farm Credit. I don't know why you'd call anybody else. Your first call, and it'll be your only call, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. Go to firstsouthland.com, firstsouthland.com. All right, quick break, come back, let's talk some Pels. Christian Clark will join us, recap Game 1, give a thumbnail preview of Game 2, ask him about Zion's comments, all that ahead. And we'll circle back to what Mickey Loomis had to say as he met with reporters earlier. So 30 minutes from right now, we'll talk about what the Saints GM had to say, draft strategy. Do the Saints plan to be patient on day 2? Will they move up into round 3 or 4? What do they plan to do? Might they move up or back in round 1? Give you a glimpse into the window of Mickey Loomis's mind here in about 30 minutes from right now. Stick around. It's AFR.
AFR.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Thinks my tractor's sexy. It really turns her on. She's always staring at me while I'm chugging along.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
A lot of positives throughout the course of the game. Like I said, our game plan discipline was at a high level. Our defense was extremely solid. And offensively, you know, we got quality looks, but we didn't knock them down. A couple key plays down the stretch, a couple turnovers that we wanted back. But other than that, you know, that's what you want. It's a game that comes down to the final few possessions.
Willie Green, as Pels get ready for Game 2 on Wednesday night there at OKC. Christian Clark, NOLA.com. Good enough to join us here for a couple of minutes. Hey, man, thanks for the time. Nope. Okay, we don't have Christian Clark of NOLA.com. Are we going to have Christian Clark of NOLA.com? Okay, thank you. All right. I want to. By the way, Willie Green and Zion and the Pelicans just wrapped up media availability, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes ago. So, and Christian was there. So, obviously, we weren't. We're here. So, I want to ask him. Okay, great. Pels, Game 2 tomorrow night. Christian Clark, NOLA.com, joins us now. How are you, dude?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty good. 5 days in Oklahoma City. Maybe there's some markets you would rather go to, but I'm having fun.
Well, you're covering the NBA playoffs, which that is just a great way to make a living. So enjoy it. Pels just had media availability. I see you're obviously there. What were the standout takeaways from media availability that just wrapped up?
Yeah, I mean, the big one was Zion Williamson spoke to local media for the first time since he tweaked his left hamstring last week. It's been a week since the injury occurred. I thought Zion was in pretty good spirits considering the circumstances. He used the word demoralized. He felt demoralized that he got hurt, right when it looked like he was finally going to be able to play in the playoffs. I mean, Zion, this is year 5, obviously has not been able to play in the playoffs yet. I just thought he was in good spirits despite all that's happened in the last week.
What, based on what Zion said, he said I think he said it's definitely realistic, maybe might be the quote, that of him returning here in the postseason. Can you walk us through, Christian, what that would entail? Like, what is definitely realistic about a timeline to get Zion Williamson back?
So, yeah, I mean, I think everyone has to understand that the Zion's return from injuries, it's always, not the most straightforward. I think right now Zion is really early in the recovery process. Right when the injury occurred, the Pelicans said, "Hey, look, we're going to reevaluate him in 2 weeks." It's been 1 week right now. I don't think Zion is doing a whole lot on the court right now. So my sense is that he's not close. But at the same time, me and Andrew Lopez, we both asked him, like, "Hey, how does this one compare to the right hamstring injury, which occurred last year?" And Zion, was really, matter of fact about it. He's like, this was not nearly as bad as the right hamstring injury, which happened last year and knocked Zion out for the final 45 games of the season. It's my understanding that is true. So, while I don't think he's close, or I don't think his return is imminent, I don't think this is as bad as what ended his season last year.
You can see the dismay on his face. I mean, it was just a little floater in the lane too that took him out, which was so odd and really unassuming of a play for it to happen that way. How do you think they functioned in Game 1 without Z?
I mean, I thought they played really well. The Thunder are elite at turning you over and getting out and scoring in transition, and I was a little bit worried that was going to happen in a really crazy atmosphere, and it didn't. The Pelicans defended really well. I thought Herb and the team in general did a nice job on Shea Alexander for the most part. I just think the question in this series, especially without Zion, are the Pelicans going to be able to score enough? I mean, the Thunder were an elite defensive team. They do have that weakness of they're not a very good defensive rebounding team, and the Pelicans kind of exploited that, but they're good at really every other part of defense, and I think that's going to be the question. Can the Pelicans score enough without Zion? If you look at the regular season, the Pelicans' lowest scoring total, 83 points. It came in their second game against Oklahoma City. That's a central question to me. Without the guy who, is just a beast interior scoring against this smallish team, are you going to be able to put enough points on the board?
Christian Clark's with us, NOLA.com. He's on Twitter at @CClark_13. One of the things that Willie said after Game 1 is they got good looks. The shot just didn't fall. You buying that?
I think I'm buying it, but the other side of that coin is that the same was true for Oklahoma City, and the Pelicans were a really good three-point shooting team this year. They're fourth in three-point accuracy. Oklahoma City was even better. Oklahoma City was the number 1 team in the NBA in three-point accuracy. So I think that is true. The Pelicans definitely can make more shots. I mean, just what scares me is I think Oklahoma City can too. Both teams just did not really shoot it well from outside. I think they missed more than they usually would. So I think both sides are capable of shooting it better in Game 2.
When we look ahead to Game 2, aside from shooting it better, what material changes do you expect from Willie for Game 2?
Yeah, I think the thing you have to look at is figuring out ways for Brandon Ingram to be a little bit more effective. I think he shot 4 of 15 in Game 1, and immediately after Game 1, Willie's asked about it. He's like a lot of that is just on Brandon. I kind of followed up on practice today. Said, how do you counteract defense when they're going to be really, really physical? It's no secret that Lou Dort is just basically going to be in Ingram's jersey, going to give him no airspace. Dort is basically a fire hydrant. Just try to use his strength to not let Ingram get where he wants to go. And the two things Willie said was just more movement. Like Ingram is a guy who can sometimes be a deliberate player, like just be in action more, run a little bit more. And the other thing he said was set a screen for your teammates. That's kind of like the rule they always tell you in basketball. So if you want to get open, set a screen for your team, and that's one way you can do it. So I think Brandon's just got to create more airspace and like try to just get in some sort of rhythm.
I don't want to overstate the importance of Game 2. I mean, it's a best of 7, so even if you lose, I mean, you still have an opportunity. You're going home and you can return serve. But as you look at the series as a whole, Christian, how important is Game 2 for the Pelicans to get the win?
I think it's massive. I mean, especially when you consider the Pelicans were not a very good home team this year. I mean, I can't tell you definitively whether that'll continue in the playoffs, but I mean, that was the case in the regular season. They were the best road team in the NBA, 28 wins, more than any other team, and like kind of a mid-home team, barely above 500. So I do think it's important for them to be able to get one of these two in Oklahoma City, just because I don't have supreme confidence that they're going to be able to win both of them at home.
He is Christian Clark, NOLA.com, on Twitter at @CClark_13. You can check out the pod as well. And you have a handle for the pod. I'm looking for the handle for the pod. It's at From the Wing Pod on Twitter as well. If you want to check it out, make sure you subscribe up on your favorite podcast app. Hey, man, we appreciate the time. Enjoy OKC, man. We appreciate it.
Hey, man, appreciate it.
All right, be well. That is Christian Clark, covers the Pels for NOLA.com, on Twitter at @CClark_13. And again, if you want to find the pod, so the Twitter handle for the pod is at From the Wing Pod, or you can go obviously subscribe up on any of your favorite podcast apps. As Pels move through the playoffs right now, big one tomorrow there at OKC. All right, we're brought to you by Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com. You know where to find them with 18 locations across South Louisiana. You're never far from a Shaw Bills location. Started in Morgan City, moved up to Baton Rouge, west all the way into West Baton Rouge, now Lafayette, Youngsville. No matter where you are in those areas, you're near Shaw Bills. And, of course, the thing about Shaw Bills is you need tires. Their commitment is they're going to sell you the best tires on the road at the cheapest price possible. They guarantee it. Part of the Charlie's dozen. Buy tires at Shaw Bills. If you find within 30 days, find the same tires advertised cheaper, they're going to refund you 125% of the difference. That's a guarantee. You're going to find the best tires at the cheapest price. But they treat you like family, and that's the big difference. When you walk into Shaw Bills, you'll be greeted with a friendly greeting and a smile. You're going to be given exceptional service and fair pricing. There's comfortable furniture. It's clean. There's a kitchenette with, make yourself some coffee, Keurig, comfortable furniture, flat screen TVs, free Wi-Fi, get some work done. Like when I wait for my car at Shaw Bills, it's not a problem because I just plan to be there and I get work done when I'm at Shaw Bills. Any of the locations. Of course, you can schedule service online or shop tires online at ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. Shaw Bills, where we keep you rolling. So, all right, Game 2, Pels and Thunder tomorrow night. And Christian's right. I mean, that is the part of tomorrow night that becomes critically important is you've stunk at home. I shouldn't say you've stunk at home, but as he said, you've been mid at home. Muse laughed.
I did laugh.
Muse, for everyone listening that's over the age of 45, would you like to translate what mid means? Actually, most people probably know because they probably have kids who say mid.
Yeah, I was about to say, but I mean, yeah, it's kind of just, I mean, it's short for like,
average.
Average, yeah, middle. You're in the middle. You're not great.
You're mid. Yeah,
that's good. Modern day.
You're mid.
Modern day slang in journalism.
Mid media.
Mid media.
Hashtag mid media. No, we appreciate it. No, but he's right in that respect. Boy, you wouldn't think it, man. And but we did talk about that too. I got to run, but we did talk about it too. Whenever we were looking at when it looked like the Pels were before it went very badly for them and they ended up in the play-in. When they were for a brief moment a couple of weeks back in the 4 seed, and we were talking about that sliding scale, ended up in the 4 or the 6. It's kind of like, well, did you really want home court advantage? Like, was it that big a deal to push for it because you haven't been good at home? So, look, you can't win a series without winning on the road. When you don't have home court advantage, obviously you have to flip home courts. You have to win one to flip home court. So, I mean, you win tomorrow, you guarantee you're at least heading back to OKC at some point in this series. All right, it's after further review. We'll now got a quick break. Muse will do Tigers and the Pros when we come back. Mickey Loomis talking draft in about 15 minutes. We'll continue our SEC spring recaps. David Nuno from Texags next hour. Got to talk a little LSU, Nichols, baseball at the box tonight. And got to get back to John Emery hitting the transfer portal. What an odd situation that is, but certainly wishing John Emery well as he moves throughout the next phase of his career. Stay with us. It's AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by the Watermark Hotel and the Renaissance Hotel. You know by now 2 amazing hotel properties in Baton Rouge, the Watermark Downtown, the Renaissance Southtown, and the next installment of Evenings at the Renaissance has been scheduled over at the Renaissance Hotel. It's an evening with our friends from 7-3 Distilling. And look, love our friends over at 7-3 Distilling. They've done really well with their cocktails and with all of their spirits. So if you want to give it a try, you can. Excuse me, I'm trying to find this information here. My apologies. You can elevate your evening with 7-3 Distilling. It's coming up on May the 3rd. It's May the 3rd from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Again, tickets are complimentary, so just call up to the Renaissance Hotel, or if you run up to Tallulah at any point, just ask about it. 6 to 8:30 on May the 3rd with 7-3 Distilling. There will be unique flavors and handcrafted cocktails, so get your complimentary tickets now at the Renaissance Hotel. It's Evenings at the Renaissance. The next one coming up on May the 3rd at the Renaissance Hotel.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Loomis for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years.
Sit and talk with the radio on. She says she's got a dream, and I ask what it is. She wants a little farm and a yard full of kids.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Our friends over at Sunshine, give a big shout out all the Louisiana farmers currently spraying and fertilizing sugar, so good luck out there. The crop, and as you chug along on your green tractor from Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. All right, a lot to get to. Muso, Tigers in the pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
All right, the Houston Texans have agreed to terms.
Snoop doodle.
There it is, yeah. The Houston Texans have agreed to terms on a one-year deal with free agent linebacker Jacob Phillips. Multiple reports now have that. What?
Nothing.
Oh, I thought you had something.
Reacting to the story.
While terms of that deal were not disclosed, it did come after Phillips worked out for the Texans earlier on Monday. Of course, a third-round pick of the Browns out of LSU in 2020 had stints on IR in 2021 with a bicep, and in 2022 he had a bicep. In 2022 he had a pec.
Oh,
and again in 2023 he had a pec.
A pec.
The pec's
so
bothering.
A bicep, a pec, and a pec.
And a pec. Yeah,
two pecs and a bicep.
Two pecs and a bicep.
He's got a bicep and two pecs.
Yeah. Did not play last season. That was a torn pec actually in the preseason. 88 career tackles, 3 sacks, and 4 hits on the quarterback. So best of luck with Jacob Phillips in Houston this year. Kevin Gausman going to be on the bump tonight for Toronto. 0-2 so far on the year. An ERA over 8. He needs to pick it up a little bit. I mean, our guy, right. It is, but our guy's gotten off to like meteoric starts.
It's true.
The last 2 years.
That is true.
Like you've been talking all-star potential for Gausman, and it's slower here. So, I mean, the whip's almost 2. That's rough. But
he was in the Cy Young conversation.
That's even more. Yeah, not just All-Star, Cy Young. Facing the Royals tonight. They
won the Cy Young last year in the AL Muse?
I don't remember. Yeah, I think it was some rookie or some no-name guy that's never accomplished anything in his career.
It's the only thing we got, Muse. We missed the damn playoffs. At least we had the. Actually, that's a bigger kick in the nuts. You had the Cy Young winner. You don't make the playoffs.
All right. It was Garrett Cole.
Who does he play for?
The Astros, right? Is he still
He plays for nobody right now.
Yeah, it's true. He's on the IL.
Another kick in the nuts.
There it is. Hey, they're doing well.
They are.
How about the fan that got Aaron Boone ejected yesterday?
So good.
That was awesome. That was beautiful. Oh, man. All right. Lastly, Naz Reid.
Should have stayed.
Naz Reid and the Timberwolves. They're in action tonight. Game number 2 against the Phoenix Suns. Naz coming off a really nice performance in game number 1. 12 points in that one. Played just under 20 minutes. That is Tigers in the Pros.
Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Gentlemen, Mother's Day right around the bend. Have you thought about Mom yet? If you have not thought about what you're going to get her or you're fretting over what to get her a gift in the red box from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. You cannot go wrong. Just walk through the doors. 9 locations. 2 in Baton Rouge, Corporate Boulevard, Bocage, Mall of Louisiana, Lafayette, New Orleans, Shreveport. 9 locations in all. You can find the location nearest you. Just trust me. Thrill her with a gift in the red box from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. They will help you find the perfect piece of jewelry. And if you're thinking of popping the question, go where all of Louisiana is going to get engaged for 30 years. That's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, LMFJ.com. All right, it's after further review. We are glad to have you hanging out with us here. You can email us, tweet us, text us in the 225-396-4400, 396-4400. Mickey Loomis met with reporters, evasive as always, but previewing what the Saints might be looking at in Thursday through Saturday's draft. When we come back, you'll hear from the Saints GM, and we'll hear if he's chewing on gum throughout his entire press conference as well. Look forward to that.
AFR.
Man, as we start a new week here, I always love telling you about South Point Volkswagen, but one of the most important things about this time of year is that it's graduation time. So 2 things happen. You have high school graduates that are heading off to college and college graduates that are heading off to their first real job and heading off to the the real world. Remember, if you're a college student, South Point Volkswagen offers you $500 off of your purchase. If you're a college student, just remember that. Boom, $500 off your purchase, just like that. It's at South Point Volkswagen, Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. If your son or daughter is graduating high school, heading to college, and you're thinking, man, love to get them that perfect gift. They're not as dependent on me to run them around town anymore. Get them a vehicle from South Point Volkswagen, which checks so many boxes. You get all the style, performance, of luxury that they love without the cost, and, of course, with all the great safety features that you'll love. It's South Point Volkswagen. SouthPointVW.com. South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction?
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Loomis for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Sports Center. I'm Christine Lisi. Latest injury news for tonight's first-round NBA playoff games. Bucks power forward Giannis Antetokounmpo with a calf strain will not play in Game 2 against the Pacers. Clippers small forward Kawhi Leonard remains questionable for Game 2 against the Mavericks with right knee inflammation. Suns hoping for a bounce back after a 25-point loss to the Timberwolves on Sunday. Couple of things Phoenix must do in Game 2 tonight to tie up the series, and one involves a member of the Big Three. ESPN NBA analyst Tim Legler.
It's all hands on deck, particularly at the top of the food chain, and that's Kevin Durant, Booker, and Beal, but in particular it's Devin Booker, because one thing I can say about Devin Booker, the dude is a competitor. He typically responds to performances like that, and I expect Devin Booker to come out very hungry in the first 6 minutes of Game 2 to try to establish that rhythm that he can carry with him the entire night.
Stanley Cup playoffs first round. Canucks goaltender Thatcher Demko out at least for Game 2 against the Predators tonight with an undisclosed injury. 10 Eastern on ESPN2. Casey DeSmith starts in his place.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Make sure your family is well taken care of with life insurance. Protect your phones, laptops, and more with electronic device insurance. And cover your furry friends with pet health insurance.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride.
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt. Hey, shut up, kid. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
You sue. And Mr. Toby Tom Blake. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you are driving home with us. Heading to College Station in 15 minutes. Our buddy David Nuno, Tex Ags, will give us the SEC spring recap. Looking at the Aggies' first year under Mike Elko. Massive attrition there in College Station on the roster with this massive exodus with the portal. So how are they rebuilding it? We'll get into that with David Nuno here in about 15 minutes from right now. Mickey Loomis took to the podium on Tuesday for his annual pre-draft press conference, or as I should say it, his annual ritual of not answering a damn thing. And why would you? I don't blame him, again, at all. Like, no GM should give you a definitive answer to anything. All they should do is use the media as a tool to spin whatever narrative they want to that's going to be beneficial for their franchise. But Mickey Loomis was asked on the 2024 draft class as a whole.
Well, I think it's a good year for offensive players. That's probably the way I'd put it. A little better, offensively than defensively. And yet, man, I just know that 3 or 4 years from now, we're going to look back and there's going to be some great defensive players come out of this draft, and we're going to say, why didn't we see that? Or it should have been obvious. So,
yes, there are going to be great defensive players in the draft, as there are in every draft. That goes without saying, but Mickey Loomis even acknowledged there, when you're looking at your board, this seems to be an offensive-heavy draft, and in particular at, 3 positions. It's offensive line, receiver, and certainly quarterback, which is the big story. But with the Saints very much not in the market for a quarterback, no matter how much we all may want to convince ourselves that they might be in the market for a quarterback, save taking a flyer in the mid or late round on a player, they're not going to be in the market for a quarterback. The Saints are financially committed, desperately committed to Derek Carr for the next 2 years, as we've gone through. Derek Carr's contract, after they restructured it, makes it impossible to move him over the next 2 years. His dead cap number in 24 is $62.8 million. His dead cap number in 2025 is $50 million. You are not going to pay a man $50 million to not be on your team. So you are financially pot committed to Derek Carr for at least 2 more years. The only way he's not your quarterback is if you have a Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady, Trent Green, Kurt Warner type situation where you have your franchise quarterback who gets injured and the rookie unheralded draft pick or free agent comes in and wins the job. Like, that's the only way that something like that could happen. So you go into this draft trying to build offensively around Derek Carr, as we well know. But what I think is the most interesting thing for this team, and we understand that tackle is what they're going to be targeting at 14. It's nearly impossible to think of a scenario where they're targeting anything other than tackle at 14, considering Ryan Ramchik's injury situation, that you don't have a left tackle, and this is a deep tackle class in this draft. That's what you're going to do. But the Saints are notorious for moving up. They're rarely, if ever, patient. They're never patient throughout an entire draft. Their strategy has been, if we see a player and we see value, we don't wait for them to fall to us. We get aggressive and we go get them. So Loomis was asked, and this was a good glimpse into the psychology of how that draft room works for New Orleans, on whether or not they map out these scenarios before the draft.
We're at 14, for example. I'm going to look at, what's it take to get to 13? What's it take to get to 12, 11, 10, 9, 8? That's probably about where I'd cut it off. And I'll go back. How far back are we willing to go? Generally, I'm going to look 10 spots in front and 10 spots behind. And then I'm going to spend a lot of time in the next couple days saying, hey, what's the value of that? What's it going to take? What's the history in our league when somebody's traded from 14 to 10, 14 to 9, whatever? And what's the history of going from 14 back to, 20? And then there'll be a lot of calls over the next 2 or 3 days to those GMs and those teams in front of us and those teams behind us. Hey, what are you thinking? Are you have an inclination to come forward? You have an inclination to go back? We'll have an idea of what might be available.
It feels like, so the short answer to the question is yes, you do map out those scenarios. I thought that was a really compelling answer, especially talking about speaking with two parts of that. Speaking with other teams, would you have an inclination to come up or back? So whenever you're on the clock and you have that 10-minute window, you're not, you know who your potential buyers or sellers are already. You don't have time in that window to call 32 teams. So you've already shrunk that number to say, okay, who behind us might be willing to come up if we're looking to move back, sort of thing. That's one. The other, I don't know if you caught this, but it said they look 10 spots up and 10 spots back. Well, 10 spots up would be 4, right? You're sitting at 14. If you're looking 10 spots up, that gets you all the way to 4. But what Mickey Loomis said very clearly there is what would it take to go, to 10, to 9, to 8? Well, and he said point blank that he wouldn't likely go beyond 8. So put yourself in the mindset of, okay, what player could be available at 8 if that's really as high as he would go? Well, you're not moving up to 8 for a quarterback. So like if J.J. McCarthy's still on the board or something like that, you're not moving there. Really, it would be like one of 3 scenarios. Number one would be if you think, like hypothetically, if you think Joe Alt is the best offensive lineman in this draft, like just transcendent. You think Joe Alt, if you take Joe Alt, he's Willie Roaf. If you take any of the other ones, yes, they're very good starting caliber players in the NFL, but this guy is an immediate plug-and-play left tackle, your franchise for a decade, and you have minimized the questions with that guy. You think he's that much better. Like you have Joe Alt as like the number 1 player on your board. He's sitting there at 8. Okay, that's one scenario. I don't know that that's going to happen, but that's one potential scenario. The second scenario is Brock Bowers, because the Saints could very well be in the market for tight end. Now, I don't know where they have Brock Bowers on their board, right? But Brock Bowers, especially considering Clint Kubiak and the way that he has used tight ends in his offenses, whether it was Kyle Rudolph in Minnesota, whether it was George Kittle in San Francisco, the prototype style tight end that he wants is Brock Bowers. Big, physical, hand in the dirt, inline blocker, who's also an extremely competent pass catcher. It is Kittle. It is Kelsey. It is that type tight end. And when you look at this draft board for this year, and you sort of rate the tight ends, like Mel Kiper on Tuesday came out with his rankings, he doesn't have another tight end sniffing the top 2 rounds. So if you're in the market for a tight end, that's a massive gap. So if you feel like Bowers, there's value, if you're going to go up to 8, again, as Loomis said, that's another player you might move up for. And the other would be receiver. And I think we all know that the Saints are going to be targeting offensive line and wide receiver. Yes, there's absolutely the component of draft the best player available. But it's also, with rare exceptions at the top of the draft, best player at biggest position of need. And if you have a tie, so to speak, you're going to err on the side of the position of need. Well, we don't know how the Saints stack their receivers in this draft. Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze, those are the consensus top 3. But maybe the Saints have one of those guys rated higher than the others. So, like, what if there's 5 quarterbacks that come off the board, Joe Alt, and just hypothetically, Joe Alt and Malik Neighbors, or Joe Alt and Marvin Harrison. So let's say Malik Neighbors is sitting there at 8, and let's say they have Malik Neighbors as the top receiver on their board, and they have him available potentially at 8. Well, do you do a deal to go up to take a guy? I'm just throwing out Neighbors as a hypothetical because I don't know what the Saints board looks like. But do you potentially move up for that? Like, that's where I could see the scenarios for the Saints moving up at 8, if as high as 8. and I couldn't see it anywhere else. Like, you saw, it couldn't be an edge rusher. You signed Chase Young this offseason. You drafted Isaiah Foskey last year. It's hard to imagine that. The best interior defensive lineman in this draft, you drafted Brazil last. You're not going there. There isn't a safety on the board that you're going to take that high in the draft. Or you're set at corner. You're not moving up to take a player at that position. So those are the only scenarios that I could really and realistically see the Saints moving up as high as 8, as Mickey Loomis said there, potentially, if it comes to that and a player is available that they really covet. The other thing that is the big question we all have is, all right, the Saints don't have a 3rd or a 4th round pick. And you and I both know, and I've said I would, if it were possible, I would bet everything I own that the Saints don't wait from pick 45 until round 5 to make another selection. They are incapable of waiting. So Mickey Loomis was asked if they're actively looking to move into round 3 or round 4.
I wouldn't say that we're spending a lot of time thinking about that right now. We do the first round on Thursday, and then we have, the 2nd and 3rd on Friday. And so then, we have a whole evening, a whole day, really, to strategize about moving into the 3rd and 4th round. And look, part of that depends upon who are the players available. Do we really want to move up? And look, when you have 4/5, that gives us an opportunity to, take a couple of those and bump it up. But we won't be thinking about that until we know who the players are that are going to be available. Is there someone that we've got really graded high that has dropped down? And man, let's put a target on them and find a way to go get that player, because that's what we've done historically.
For a guy who says they haven't given much thought to that, he sure sounds like he's given some thought to that, right? When you got 4 5s, let's see if we can package some of those together, see a guy we targeted that slipped and go get him. That's what we've done historically. Yeah, Mick's given that a little bit of thought since those compensatory picks were made official. Listen, we all know it's going to happen. There is zero. And y'all, I don't speak only Siths speak in absolutes. I don't like to speak in absolutes because everything I say is recorded. And that's how you get on Twitter with Old Takes Exposed retweeting you. But there is a 0, clip it, Paul, a 0% chance that the Saints sit from pick 45 into round 5 and make 4 5th-round picks. A 0% chance that happens. And for the record, I want them to trade up. I don't want them to take 9 players in this draft and have half of them not even make the team. I'd rather you be bullish on 4 or 5 guys and go get starters that are going to help you now. Draft gets underway on Thursday. I'm fired up for it. All right, it's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll head to College Station. David Nuno, Texags, to give us the Aggies SEC Spring Recap next. Stay far.
AFR.
Brought to you by Clegg's Nursery, 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Siegen near Airline, LA16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Buy local, shop local. They've been doing it for 60 years, more than 60 years. That's our friends over at Clegg's Nursery. Hey, remember, say it all the time, just plant something. This is the time. The greenhouses are bursting with blooms. If you're looking for beautiful spring flowers to put in your flower bed, your patio pots, indoor, outdoor, they got you over at Clegg's Nursery, and always great deals as well. They've got Johnny Naylor seeds. They've got amazing selection of everything else that you would need to accentuate your outdoor area. Or if you need to take care of pests in your lawn, you need weed and feed for your lawn, you need mulch or soil, bag or bulk, they got you at Clegg's Nursery. Beautiful things like tuned wind chimes, hummingbird feeders. Get by and see them at Clegg's Nursery.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
The SEC Spring Recap on After Further Review. The Texas A&M Aggies.
Well, it's 1A, 1B, College Station, Tuscaloosa. Which program went through the biggest, the most tumultuous off-season? Losing a head coach and a gigantic chunk, a third of the roster of the transfer portal. So it's going to look dramatically different in College Station in 2024. How is it going to look? Let's head there. Our buddy David Nuno, Tex Ags, good enough to join us. David, how are you, man?
Hey, buddy. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. And let me just say this, much more tumultuous for Alabama than Texas A&M. This has been a breeze for Aggies.
Oh, man. David, the thing that Aggies and Tigers alike can certainly agree on, we all can just sit back and watch that thing burn from afar in Tuscaloosa and just revel in it. So we have that commonality, no doubt.
Well, look, Matt, think of it this way. Look, we were under the thinking that Jimbo Fisher was going to be our head coach until my children who are in high school or have families. That's what it felt like, until they had married with kids, and maybe they're even in preschool. We're supposed to have them here till 2031. So This has been a phenomenal offseason. And you talk about some of the turnover, not a lot of starters left. And the two big ones that left, those hurt, no doubt about it. But a lot of the dudes who left were not really guys that they were counting on.
Let's start with Elko before we get to the portal. All right, just big picture. How's it going? How's the transition going?
So, look, I don't think you can win with a press conference, right? Jimbo tried it. You don't win. But I will say everything that Mike Elko has said in pressers, behind closed doors, and what we see, he has handled this job perfectly for the beginning. Now, obviously, I've got maroon-tinted glasses when I speak, but he says the right thing. His approach is very blue-collar, and I love to tell the story that was told to me. And when Elko first got here and he started visiting these high school coaches, he called one in Houston and said, "Hey, I'm going to come by today at noon." The coach was like, "All right, just tell your entourage to pull up in the back. We'll be waiting for you." And Mike's like, "Entourage? It's just me and my pickup truck." And that's just how Mike is. He's down to earth. I think he gets the old school Aggie ways. He saw firsthand what worked for Jimbo Fisher, what did not work for Jimbo Fisher. He's bringing in accountability. He's embraced the transfer portal. He's hit it out the park every single time. Now the bottom line is, how do you do wins and losses? But at least the ramp up feels really, really good.
Look, hope springs eternal in the spring for literally every program, and there's probably nothing more refreshing than bringing in a new coach after somebody struggled. Like, you're going to have that re-energized feeling within the program. Now, in the portal era, it obviously complicates things because a third of the roster entered the portal, 27 outgoing transfers. And look, you said there's only a couple of starters. I could point to Walter Nolan. I could point to Diggs. I could point to Jacoby Matthews, Jordan Gilbert. I mean, a lot of guys, LT Overton, a lot of guys who played for A&M, played significant roles. So where, of the guys that left in the portal, what left the biggest impact, the biggest hole on the roster? Let's ask it that way.
Well, again, and remember, you're talking to an Aggie who will justify things, just like I did for a few weeks with Jimbo Fisher. But I'll phrase it like this. Evan Stewart, who is a phenomenal talent, they need help at the wide receiver group. A&M would be much better with Evan Stewart. Now, I will say, maybe not some of the off-the-field things that came with Evan. Now, Evan's a good kid. That's not what I mean. But, like, the tweeting, the eyes, every time he was disappointed with a practice, his production was not what we expected. A lot of that can be the Jimbo Fisher offense. Let's give credit to Evan as an athlete. The guy is a stud. But Ja'Day Walker, who was a transfer last year, had these same stats as Evan Stewart. So when we talk about that, the wide receiver room is really a big hit. Walter Nolan, of course they're going to miss him. Of course, he was, he's a potential first-round pick in the NFL draft. That stings. But when you look at the A&M defensive front, they've got some dudes. Fidel Diggs leaving wasn't ideal. You replace him with Nick Scorton, I think pretty ideal. So a guy who's from the Bryan-College Station area, a guy who led the Big Ten in sacks. So look, it's not. And Jacoby Matthews was not going to be one of our starting safeties. So he's moving on. And that's the kind of the world we live in college football, where certain guys, they don't necessarily fit what the profile of this coaching staff is, and they test the market and they go elsewhere.
Flip it around, David. Of the 27 incoming transfers, and certainly of those who were there in spring, who appears to be the most significant so far?
Well, Jabri Barber, who's injured, and we don't know how long he's going to be gone, is a guy that I think was going to be an impact player for that wide receiver room. So unfortunately, he is hurt, and he may be hurt for a while. We don't know. It's a lower leg injury, so we'll see how long he's out. Cyrus Allen, another wide receiver who I think from Louisiana Tech, who's got some big play potential. We're super excited about him. You've heard me talk about Nick Scorton, the Big Ten sack leader. He just fits. Not only is he really good, and he's learning the Elko way, how to put his hands in the dirt and get after quarterbacks. He's always stood up. This is another phase of his career. Cassius Howell on the defensive side as well, a guy who can get to the quarterback. You're adding pieces that work. The offensive line looks different. You brought a gentleman from Kansas, Amaj Reed Adams, who is going to compete for a starting job. You just picked up another guy from Utah this past weekend, Koki, is his name. And he's a guy who's going to compete. So you're bringing in a lot of guys with veteran experience who feel really good about their opportunity at Texas A&M. And again, I think it goes for any organization, any football program, Matt. You bring in guys, but they're only going to do as far as the leader lets them do, right? So if your leader leads by example, has accountability, and has structure, then I think certain types of players can thrive in that system. And that's what I think we're going to see a little different from this A&M team.
David Nuno is with us, SEC Spring Recap, looking at the Aggies, TexAgs.com. He's on Twitter at David Nuno if you want to go give him a follow. Okay, let's talk about the offense. I mean, this is going to be Connor Wegman's team, right? I mean, that's solidified?
Yes, sir. I mean, he's the starting quarterback, absolutely.
So we know that he was injured. Give us a sense of how the offense and what the offense might look like here in a transition year.
So Colin Klein, I think he was a brilliant hire for Texas A&M. And you bring in a guy who loves to use tight ends, loves to use up-tempo, who's going to try to maximize what Connor Wegman does well. What does Connor Wegman do well? He can run, he can throw, he can make quick reads, he can throw the deep ball. And I think that's what you're going to get with Colin Klein. And I'm going to say this again. I like Jimbo Fisher. I did. I liked him. It didn't work out, and it was probably apparent after the third year. After the 2020 season, when they went 8-4, I should have seen the signs, and I didn't. It took that Appalachian State game for me to see it. The best thing about this offense is Jimbo's hands are not on the offense. It's not an antiquated approach. It's going to be a little bit faster approach. They're going to maximize the use of some of their weapons, of the Le'Veon Mosses, the Reuben Owens, some of the playmakers that they have in the backfield. But the bottom line with any team in the SEC, but I'll tell you at least from an A&M perspective, it's that offensive line. If that offensive line can protect the quarterback, I think you're going to see good numbers. Because even last year, with Bobby Petrino running the show and Jimbo still having his hands on it, the offensive line was putrid. If they could have protected those quarterbacks, they were on their way to having a pretty nice season. Connor Witten was having a really nice start to the season. But you look at what has happened the last 3 years, you keep losing quarterbacks. Haynes King on 2 different occasions. Zach Calzada could not have played in a bowl game in 21 had he tried to. He was injured. You also have Max Johnson getting injured. So it's a revolving door at quarterback because of the offensive line. The offense will only be as good as that O-line.
He's David Nuno, Texags. Between now and the start of fall camp, obviously another portal window, where are the holes, where are the targets for A&M coming out of spring?
A couple of different areas. I would not be surprised if they get another offensive lineman. Bryce Foster looks like he's not going to be on the football team moving forward. They have moved Mark Naboo to be the starting center, and Bryce Foster, who had a brilliant freshman year, but just has not ever count back on. He's on the track and field team as a shot put thrower. He's no longer there. So I could see them going for depth on the offensive line for sure. The wide receiver room needs to get better, needs to get deeper, especially with the injury to Jabri Barber. They need another guy or two. They've entertained a couple of guys recently. The gentleman from Penn State, Kendall Lambert-Smith, he's a guy that was in town this past weekend. He'd be a nice get to add to this wide receiver room. Those are 2 areas. They just added a linebacker on, when was that? Monday. And so I think the linebacker room is good. If you see anywhere else, potentially another cornerback, but I think they feel pretty good about that spot, and they feel really good about safety. So those are kind of the areas. I would probably say wide receiver would be 1A, though.
Well, it's going to be interesting, man. Change always is, but optimism abounds coming out of spring. David, looking forward to seeing you in Dallas. I assume we'll see you up there for SC Media Days coming up in July. We'll have a lot to talk about.
Matt, I always enjoy coming on the show, man. Thanks for the invite.
It's our pleasure. That's David Nuno, Texags.com. It's After Further Review, brought to you by Michelli Weighing and Measurement. Michelli.com with 30 offices across 11 different states. You're never far from a Michelli location. Of course, no matter what industry you're in, dozens of different industries, our friends over at Michelli Weighing and Measurement. If you weigh or measure something, they sell, service, rent the products that you use to weigh and measure. Our nation's largest distributor of scales. Remember, at Michelli, they love to do business face-to-face. It's a huge part of how they've continued to grow over 76 years, maintaining their local ownership. As they've grown, they haven't sold the business. They haven't looked for an exit. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they wanted to maintain local ownership, and they've continued to do it, and it's incredible. The Harahan office is right there. 6 different labs and locations just in the state of Louisiana. It's Michelli Weighing and Measurement. Look, if it's pressure gauges or torque wrenches, so many more. If you need those precision measurement devices calibrated, Michelli can help. Calibration's so important. I mean, everything's got to be kept up to date, and they do that better than anyone. It's Michelli Weighing and Measurement. If you've been disappointed with someone else and the level of service they provided, you want quicker turnaround times, better communication, the track system I tell you about all the time, it's worth giving Michelli a call. Michelli. Start at the website, Michelli.com, Michelli.com. For what it's worth, A&M's projected win total from Vegas over under 7.5. That's decidedly better than 5-7 record that Jimbo would stumble to. But I don't know how. And look, and the thing I do respect is, with David there saying, look, acknowledge he's looking at it through, maroon tinted glasses. But I don't know how you lose your coach, have 27 players leave, and expect, boom, you're not going to miss a beat or you're going to be better. Now, say that full well knowing that Brian Kelly's first year in Baton Rouge, they went 9-3. I mean, he took over a disaster, and they beat Bama, went 9-3. Now, the big part of that, of course, is you got Jay Daniels in here, and you had tons of offensive weapons, and it worked out. A&M opens at home against Notre Dame. Mike Elko's former school where he was the defensive coordinator. Their road conference games are manageable. At Florida, who's not going to be very good. At Mississippi State, at South Carolina, at Auburn. It's a manageable schedule. They do not play Georgia. They do not play Alabama. So there are things on that schedule where if you are looking at the Aggies, you can say, if you can handle Notre Dame in the non-conference, I don't know that they can. It's a home game, first game in the Mike Elko era, we'll see. But McNeese, Bowling Green, and New Mexico State are on the schedule. And you do get Texas back on the schedule as well in that final traditional weekend. And that's at home in College Station. So if you win your other three non-conference games, let's say you lose to Notre Dame, can you go 5-3 in the league? At Florida, home against Arkansas, home against Missouri, at Mississippi State, home against LSU, at South Carolina, at Auburn, home against Texas. Are there 5 wins in there? I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not. But the schedule does align for them to have a better season than you might think given all the turnover. It's going to be interesting. Talking season is going to be fun around College Station for sure. Okay, it's after further review. Glad you're hanging out with us here. Let me knock out a quick break. When we come back, John Emery hit the portal today, and I have some thoughts on that I want to circle to. Also, we'll check and see if the LSU baseball lineup is posted against Nichols, and we'll run through that before we get out of here. Otter Locks in about 15 minutes. Glad you're hanging out with us here. Don't you move. It's AFR.
AFR.
At Glow Resources, we always say they're complete employer solutions. One of the things with Glow Resources that would probably best illustrate why they are so good at what they do, think of it like this. If you're trying to hire someone for your business, how many times do you interview prospective employees? Handful, maybe? At Glow Resources, they interview 50 people a day. Do the math. That's like 15,000 interviews a year. This is what they do. They know the questions to ask. They know how to pre-qualify candidates. That's how they end up with a selected batch that are going to best fit exactly what you need. So if you're thinking about hiring somebody, if you're trying to hire and you keep missing the mark, and it's costing you time, it's costing you productivity, you need Glow Resources. GLO, glowresources.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Oh, real quick, shout out, if you listen on ESPN 1037 Lafayette or 1041 Lake Charles, 2 things. Number one, obviously we're brought to you by Sunshine, and next week, April 30th, Sunshine is opening their newest store in Jennings, and they're going to be having a crawfish boil from 11 to 1. So make sure you check out the new Sunshine location in Jennings, smack dab between Lafayette and Lake Charles there on I-10. So big shout out to our friends at Sunshine. Also, tomorrow, AFR in Lafayette. Looking forward to that. So our friends at Delta Media, ESPN 1037, they invited Eric and I to go watch Nate Bargatze tomorrow at the Cajun Dome. We're big fans, comedian if you're not familiar. So the show's at 7. Instead of getting off air downtown Baton Rouge at 6 and trying to get over there, we said, hey, look, let's do the show in Lafayette just to make it easier. So we'll be at the Tap Room in River Ranch for AFR tomorrow. So if you're in Lafayette or the Lafayette area, you want to come hang out, Tap Room in River Ranch for AFR tomorrow, 3 to 6. So we hope to see a lot of you there. Help to spread the word. So 2 LSU players hit the portal on Tuesday. Joe Cryer, the freshman early enrollee offensive lineman, early enrolls at LSU, goes through spring, and then hits the portal. And the complete opposite end of the spectrum is John Emery, who will now seek a 6th year of collegiate eligibility wherever he plays. And, I kind of pen to paper was looking at this earlier and how John Emery was eligible, because my assumption was that John Emery was out of eligibility. Look, he played as a freshman in 2019. The COVID year was a free year for everybody, right? 2021 was when he was academically ineligible, and you don't get to use a redshirt year, so that you burn a year of eligibility. So it's 2 years of eligibility. He obviously played 11 games in 2022, the first year Brian Kelly was here, and then this season came back and played in 7 games. Of course, he was injured against Florida, but that's his 4 years. So John Emery is technically out of eligibility. Shay Dixon was with us earlier today and said that he was told that John Emery applied for and got a medical red shirt, so that's great news. I was also told there is an appeals process whereby if you lose a year of eligibility for an academic suspension, if you graduate, you can appeal to get that year back as a graduate player. And so John Emery has multiple avenues there that he could appeal to the NCAA, and it's oftentimes granted, by the way. If you graduate, you get your degree, they'll generally will give you that year back on appeal. That's sort of what's understood. So John Emery had a couple of avenues, paths here to seek this 6th year. And listen, with the benefit of hindsight, John Emery could have and probably should have left LSU at any point in the past. Like after that 2021 season, he could have left and gone pro after he was academically ineligible. But came back, had the 22 season where he played 11 games, had the great touchdown reception against Alabama, which the highlight really of his time at LSU. But decided to come back for another season, wanted to graduate, wanted to get another year, wanted to finish what he started at LSU. And part of me really admires that tremendously. And it's one of the complex parts of John Emery's career, because he's a guy that came to LSU with so much promise and potential. And, you know, we looked at Emery, and as a 5-star, number 1 running back in the country, came to LSU, and we thought, like, he's going to be the next Fournette. He's going to be that guy that, you know, that is the 3 years to the NFL first-round draft pick. And because of injuries and academics, it didn't play out that way. And the academics certainly are partly fall at John's feet. The injuries are something that you certainly couldn't help. But in spite of all that, he continued to persevere. And I respect that tremendously, because John Emery, there's a lot of players, there's a lot of student athletes who struggle with school, don't love school, and so they leave early primarily because of that. John Emery is going to walk out of LSU later this month. He's a month away from getting his college degree. After being academically ineligible for costing him an entire season, after missing the start of this season working on academics, he's still there trying to get across the finish line. And I think that is admirable and deserves to be recognized. Not the fact that he dug himself that hole academically, but that he could have walked away at any point, but has continued to come back and say, I'm going to stick this out. And now, as a result, he's going to go somewhere else and play his final year of eligibility, provided he passes this year, graduates, and he has his graduate year next year. And he's coming off a torn ACL, and had he stayed at LSU coming off the ACL, same thing with Logan Diggs, who'd been coming off an ACL. You'd have been buried on the depth chart. It's probably better to go look for greener pastures where you're not buried on the depth chart, where you can go somewhere and get 150 rushes in a season and show the NFL there's no issues. Because right now, the NFL certainly, you know, the draft feedback for John Emery was, I don't know how you are physically, go back to school if you can, and let's see how you look. So this is another opportunity for Emery to go play another season, prove he's healthy, and then get a shot at the NFL. So, you know, when I look at John Emery's legacy, yeah, I mean, we're going to look at the touchdown against Alabama. Look, I can remember, obviously, the COVID year. The COVID year was pretty amazing, too, the game that he had against Vanderbilt. I get it was Vanderbilt. But, you know, John Emery is a guy that I think we'll always remember for the sensational high school career he had, being the super sought-after recruit. But, man, when I think of one play that's going to encapsulate John Emery's career, it's going to be that touchdown reception against Alabama when he caught it down the sideline, planted, made a guy miss, got in the end zone, which was the first score of that game in 2022, and the place went nuts. So, look, LSU's going to be okay at running back. You got Caleb Jackson, you got Josh Williams. We all assume Trey Holly's going to be back, and Brian Kelly said as much after the spring game. Caden Durham coming in. You got 4 scholarship guys that you can. We've gone through it. You can make it work with those 4 scholarship guys, but you wish John Emery well in wherever his next destination may be. Hopefully, he gets across the finish line, gets his degree in a month, finishes out this semester, gets his degree, and whatever's next, we wish him well. So John Emery leaving LSU and is appealed for and apparently been rewarded and awarded another year of eligibility from the NCAA, which he'll take advantage of elsewhere. Okay. We're brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows. Beautiful entry doors. Hardy plank vinyl siding. You know, we did an appraisal on our house a couple of years ago. I say this all the time. It'll increase your home's resale value. We did an appraisal on our house a couple of years ago, and we got credit on the appraisal report for having these energy-efficient windows. So you will see a monetary increase in the appraisal of your home for installing these energy-efficient windows. And not just because you install these energy-efficient windows, but because Relief Windows offers a lifetime transferable warranty on labor, material, and glass breakage, it's going to be even more valuable because you sell your home, that warranty transfers to the next homeowner. It's Relief Windows. Windows, door, siding. Oh, yeah, they do indoor shutters as well. It's Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. We have the lineup posted yet, Muse? If you see it, if you have it in front of you, run through it, please, real quick.
Okay, yeah. Paxton Kling is going to lead off and play in center field. Ashton Larson will hit second and be in right. Tommy White in his normal spot at third and hitting third. Jones in the cleanup spot. Josh Pearson getting the start in left field tonight, so no Mac Bingham in the lineup. Hayden Travinsky is DHing and hitting sixth. And then 7, 8, and 9 is Braswell at short, Milam at second, Milazzo behind the plate, Cade Anderson is going to get the start.
Did no surprise there with Anderson. Someone asked if Anderson pitches well again, do you think you move him back into the weekend? I don't. I mean, it seems pretty obvious that it wasn't a thing about him coming out of the bullpen and being more comfortable as a starter. I just don't think he's ready to get SEC hitters out consistently. That's what I mean. Do you agree? That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, I mean, the success just has not been the same.
I'm not surprised about Bingham, and I hate to say it that way, but we've talked about it a bit. Like there are guys on this team who are veteran guys who are probably role players that you were hoping would be star players on this team. That's been a bugaboo. That's why you're seeing more of Ashton Larson, because the ceiling is obviously so much higher. Yeah. Milam, obviously, is a freshman who they think super highly of. So, yes, you're gonna start getting those guys in. And honestly, you got to get Paxton Kling going. He's what was the low water? We got to go. What was the low water mark of his average this year?
Man, I think it was like 153.
So he's in the 150s. He's at like 220 now,
Yeah.
right about there, right?
He had a nice
225. Well, he's had a nice month.
Yes, that's fair.
Relative, I mean, he's raised his average 80 points. I mean, I'm not telling you the guy's going to go light the world on fire, but he's having competitive at-bats and getting on base, which, yes, give me a competent bat with the elite glove, and I can put you in the field. So there's things that they need to happen. Look, you need Ashton Larson to grow up in a hurry and be a dude, and he's got it in him. Go do it. You need Gage Jump to replicate what he did this past, maybe not 14 strikeouts, but yeah, the path is there for this team to win enough games to get into the postseason. I'm not telling you they're going to go on a run and win the national championship. I'm telling you there's a path there for them to dig themselves out of the hole to get into the postseason. And once you're there, we'll see. All right, quick break. Otter Locks next, AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan, injury attorneys. Count down the days, y'all. Almost out of time to enter for the Gordon's Grads giveaway. I've been telling you for the last several weeks, friends over at Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, they're giving away 12 laptops to graduating high school seniors. So if that's you or someone in your family who's going to college or to trade school, go to gordonsgrads.com, gordonsgrads.com, and enter to win one of 12 laptops for graduating seniors heading to college or trade school. Also, newest member of the G team announced today. It is 5-star defensive lineman, #1 player in the state of Louisiana, Dominic McKinley, the Tiger, the future Tiger, has joined up with the G team. We're excited about that, to have Dominic McKinley on the G team as well, just as we are. You know the drill. If you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 30 years. Go to getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Down the stretch we come, final segment here on a Tuesday edition of AFR. One thing left to do, find out what we're betting on tonight. Time for Otter Locks.
Otter Locks, presented by Lofton Staffing Services. At Lofton, we put people to work. Call us today at 924-0200 or go to lofton.jobs.
So we turn to the one and only, the incomparable, the of an incomprehensible, the Outfather himself, Jimmy. Otter, how are you?
Good, Matt. How about you?
Doing well, man. A bit of a mixed bag last night. We had a lot on the board with the NBA, the NHL, and MLB. A similar 6-7 pack tonight.
I hadn't heard from the big meatball out in the desert, but
he hit
later. He hit last night. It was nice. Plus money on Toronto, so they go back home with a split. So he's probably going to ride them continuing. Looking at the this is interesting because the books got beat pretty good in the opening weekend of the NBA playoffs. Home teams 7-1, 6-2 to the under. Last night's games, all three of them went to the under, but the visiting teams covered a couple of them with the Lakers and also with the 76ers. Here you got the three road teams were all public teams in game one, and all got smoked. I mean, Phoenix got drilled, Indiana got drilled, and Dallas got drilled.
Yeah.
I'm going to lay off Indiana and Milwaukee, but I am going to bounce back on Phoenix +3 at DraftKings right now, and Dallas +1 right now on DraftKings.
Okay.
So. And then a couple of baseball bets tonight. A little pitching edge. St. Louis at home against the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks made it to the World Series last year. A little bit overpriced this year. Cardinals won late last night. I like them to win again tonight. But my biggest play is later tonight. Massive pitching mismatch between the Orioles and the Angels. Canning is getting lit up all season for the Angels, and Grayson Rodriguez is one of the top. This stuff has been really good, and he kind of clicked in. One of the big reasons the Baltimore surged and held on to the AL East title last night. -1.5.
1 minute remaining.
105.
Right.
-1 plus 105 should be look for. I like that one a lot.
Otter, I'm sorry. Give me the other play with Arizona and St. Louis again.
St. Louis money line.
St. Louis money line. I'm looking at -142 on the money line.
Yep, there you go.
All right, St. Louis on the money line and Baltimore on the run line, laying the 1.5. So Phoenix +3, Dallas +1 in the association tonight in Major League Baseball. Baltimore on the run line and St. Louis on the money line. Where are you tomorrow, Otter?
Tomorrow, at Roca P3 on Government Street.
Man, awesome spot right there in Mid-City. Great pizza and great vibe if you want to go check out Otter and Handy tomorrow. All right, Otter, we appreciate it, man. Good luck tonight.
All right, thanks,
All right, we'll see you later. All right, we are getting on down the road. Muse, Paulie, I appreciate you. Tomorrow we're in Lafayette at Tap Room in River Ranch. So hopefully if you're in the Lafayette area, come out and see us tomorrow for AFR. Appreciate our friends over at Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. See you tomorrow.
AFR.
It gives me an opportunity as we get on down the road to remind you about the Williamson Eye Center, williamsoneye.com. That's williamsoneye.com. Actually, Monday, I'm wheels up to New York City. I'll be out for a couple of days, just quick there, Monday, back Tuesday. But I tell you this every time whenever I travel, I never have to pack contact stuff anymore. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you wear contacts, you know what I'm talking about. When you travel, you got to have your contacts, your travel contact solution, your contact case. You got to get your extra pair of contacts. You've got to get your glasses. So at night when you take out your contacts, you put your glasses on so you're not blind. And it's just this giant hassle of always to think about. And then what if you forget something? I never have to do that again as long as I live. It's an amazing feeling. I kept all that stuff in that drawer for a long time just out of habit. And I got to the point when I was a year removed or so from LASIK where I was like, what am I doing keeping all this? I just dumped everything into the trash. It's liberating to wake up and see. They can help. The Williamson Eye Center.
He's here. Anyone want a Coors Light?
Oh, shoot, I forgot to play the song. I got a guy who can fix this.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to